Is it time? Hi, nerds. I'm back. Long time no see. Before I forget, I need to ping the Discord. Cool. I'll snooze an ad. How you guys doing? Saw you starting us with the 10 gift bomb, Shamu. Thank you so much for that. You guys have a hype train going, and I've been on the camera for like 30 seconds. Appreciate you all a ton. Chesk with the 5 bomb as well. You guys are so generous with the gifts. Good to see you guys. Balalatro with the Prime sub. Appreciate that. Also a big Balalatro fan. Artem here with the thanks along the sub. Video about MCP was great. Got a lot of value of it. Third favorite after all the ways HTML gets in your browser and startup rant. That's really good context on where it fits in my videos, actually. I like this is really useful feedback for me, actually. I wasn't sure how that one would do, and I'm pumped people are liking it so much. That when I was recording it, it didn't feel special, but after posting it, it definitely felt a bit different, and it's been really cool to see the success the video's been finding. 47FX here with the 13 months of support. Good to see you, man. Hope all is well. Tyson with the Prime. NMG hitting 27 months. I know I need to check my DMs. I have been away until today, and I barely have any time to even do this. I'm so behind on content. You guys have no idea. We got Blue Guy with the 20 months. David CA6 with the 11. Addy hitting 34 months. This isn't Subway Builder, lol. I need to start playing that, but I've had zero time. Sebastian with the 12. Yash, the legend, hitting 28 months. I submitted the thing you requested, by the way, Yash. Hope that goes well. Pretty good letter. I hope so. 7 months from XCSS. Hope you're doing great as well. Happy to be back. JD Paiva with the 3 months. Dr. Dory with the 8. True Burn with the Prime. And hi to YouTube chat as well. Appreciate you for getting all the cleaning done, man. Sorry that have not had anything filmed. OpenAI subpoena stuff. I don't have too much to say about all that. I feel like we need to wait a little longer. Codesmith, Reddit. Oh yeah, I saw Prime really liked this one. He mentioned it on Twitter. I'll put this in my queue. Why not? I'd say top priorities, probably this. I feel like all the other things I want to talk about, I don't have enough info to do a good video on, but I'll definitely still talk about them live at the very least. Stream's late because I was watching all the other stuff going on, and it's on a Friday because I was traveling all week for React Conf. Unlikely I'll make a dedicated video about this stuff. I feel like the podcast is serving the role there. Very proud of that podcast. We got Nick Serve here with a 22 months. Legends. Good to see you, man. Hope all's well. Next is React. My thought is that you mount the React app in the Next app and start porting things over to Next's like routing patterns. Not too complex. Guy from the article appeared in Prime's chat. Ooh boy. Plug icon is Legcord. It's my Discord client. Oh shit, Samir's here. Good shit. You don't need a bridge between React. Like, I need more info. Like, what are you using? Like when you say React to Next, like React's part of Next. What is the React? Is it a create React app with React router? Is it Vite? What is it? The only difference between React and Next is that Next has its own Webpack config, and it has its own router. Vite plus React. Okay, what router are you using? Because otherwise it's just going to be drop-in replacement. As long as you're not using a bunch of crazy Vite transforms. React router, yeah, then a React router to Next.js move is not too bad. You can also, for better or worse, mount React router in Next. I've done that before. I don't necessarily recommend it, but you can do an incremental move that way relatively easily. No, if it's not available through OpenRouter, we're not particularly interested in new infra at the moment. Get OpenRouter to work with you, and then we'll end up using you indirectly, almost certainly. Yo, Kevin with the 41 months. Hope you're doing well, man. No video on Vite Plus until they drop the blog post and video. May or may not have gotten some people a little salty with my post, so I want to take it easy because I don't want any bad blood with the Vite guys at all. I like them a lot. I thought I was just doing a funny little post, but they were upset, and I don't want to make things harsher. Yeah, I did see the X16 beta dropped. The foundation stuff might be enough that I can do a whole video. Oh no, augment code, supposedly shooting themselves in the foot. Yet another pricing AI stuff is hard because different requests cost different amounts of money. I've been talking about this forever. I don't think it's going to be a shot or like as much a foot gun as people think. Yeah. Curious what keeps me on OpenRouter? OpenRouter is not a provider. OpenRouter allows me to use whatever provider is best for the model. Switching to another provider requires us to write code specific to that provider, to buy in specifically to that provider, and to trust you as a provider over the other 30 options. Why would I pick one of 30 options when I can pick 30 options? It just makes no sense for us to build around a specific option when we could instead quickly swap between any one of them, or better, have OpenRouter pick whatever one is best based on the price, performance, and current uptime. Yeah, I saw your message, don't worry. Cloud agents have a lot of potential. They're just not there yet. I'm trying them all. What's this? Is this the sign? My old ass tweet. Oh, that's the Elon argument. Yeah. Oh, you're just hitting all of our commands. No worries, Samir. Thanks for stopping by. I don't think this is too big a deal. Oh, very fun that Bun is now on Fluid. Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about this stuff. Just make the thing. I'd be surprised if they were upset unless you like charged for it as a cheaper alternative. If you're just making a free open source thing that makes your life easier, hopefully nobody would care. Sorry, YouTube chat. Oh shit, what do we have here? Longtime lurker off topic. Do I listen to Theo? Musician? Not familiar. No. I listen to a lot of music. No idea who this guy is. So you did not see me in that. I'm in a couple really weird indie music things on YouTube. Like there's a live performance of like an indie electronic guy that has like 150 views that I'm backstage for most of. But I'm not familiar with Theo. Thank you, regardless. Appreciate the $10 super chat. Did not see this. Ooh, this looks like a free video. Thank you. Bye, pal. So I literally, the moment I hit start stream, Fleet Week started outside, and I just hear airplanes constantly. Yeah. I'm going to dump my tea bag. Actually, I should just start the recording too. I'll do that all at once. Marker offset. We'll aim for 1610. Planning on ordering boba before I went live, but ended up distracted by everyone else's streams and everything else going on. Cool. All's good. No more vibe coding. Oh, this is actually quite good. I really like the title of this one. I hate this view though. Need to read the output. Drop that in here as well. Thank you, chat. I have tips on how to fix sleep schedule. Yeah, I'm the worst person to ask for that. Yeah, I did see I'm mentioned in this. The difference might change soon, though. I know Cloudflare's working their butts off right now. Yeah, thanks for relinking this. You're not wrong that this is probably a video. Vibe coding, dying. This seems mid-pry. That's the high-pry one today. If Vibe engineering, I already got that one in here. Don't worry. I do actually need to formally task Ben on checking Simon's website all the time to make sure that we're not missing any really good free videos. I love Simon so much, so should be a very good source, and he's down for like whatever. Oh yeah, the CJ syntax vid I heard about. Haven't had a chance to check out yet. We got CD Dev here with these 36 months of support. Jesus fucking Christ, 3 years. Appreciate that. The Nemesis, Nemesis Codex, great username. 3 months in, appreciate that. Thanks, 612 for the song. Channel or change. Should we see if this guy looks like me? Said 0612, right? I'll mute. So curious. Yeah, I see it. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Good find. Yeah. Good find, Dominic. I only had that hair for like 2 years. That was great though. Thank you. Like to revoke your remix shill license. I saw you in Ryan's chat earlier. It's an interesting thing. Funny enough, I actually, one of the things I'm gonna Okay, I'm just going to write this down because I need to make sure I have enough before I commit to a video. Everything that just happened in React. This is like React Conf stuff. It's going to be React Foundation and future of React. Okay, rebrand this. The future of React. So there's React Foundation stuff. The reason I wanted to bring this up was the React router stuff, but I'm going to put in React first. There's other things I want to put in here. I'll just put the React router with RSC stuff here, though, because that's really, really good. Like React router with RSC is both one of like the best ways to try out and start adopting server components, and also the path for incremental adoption for existing places. It's not that it never gets made, it's that it sits here indefinitely. Like, there's a lot of stuff in there. Let me quickly look through. Call stack did a recap and highlight. That's cool. I'm going to make my own, though. I don't want to be biased and end up with the same like position as them. I still love what I did here. Everyone has like real titles and then YouTuber. Xeno. Okay, day 2 had a bit more. Oh yeah, I guess I can put in view transitions and async React. Cool. Yeah, this is one of the most annoying things about the convex use query, use mutation. It returns undefined by default when it's loading. It's fucking obnoxious. I've roasted them a bunch about that. You can either use React query bindings with convex, or you can write a wrapper that gives you the custom state. It's quite annoying. Disco option with the 4 months of support. Appreciate that a ton. This exists in other package managers, but it's cool they added it. Okay, if I'm doing this video, it has to be high priority. I also kind of want to do the future of Bun, which will be obviously Bun 1.3 as well as the plans. Deploy. No real monetization path yet. Really focused on Rails 4.js. Discord hack is a little too tangential. Yeah, this one's much more comms stuff. Not sure if it's the best fit for me. Shutting down subscriptions. Oh yeah, members only videos are killer. I've known about this for a bit. To me, it was obvious with how they are set up. Like, it's silly, but the simplest way of putting it, this real estate is really important. And when you have a lot of members only videos, it screws this up a ton. So Prime's not bad about it, but he does it. Oh, did he stop doing it? He used to have a bunch of members only stuff mixed in here. Who else still does it a lot? I know Professor Dave does. I don't think he does it a lot, but he does it enough that it should show. Nope. I think he members only his lives, though, if I recall. Okay, just one of them. Huh. Who else does this? The coding Jesus does, apparently. Let's check him out. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's only 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we're seeing more. Yeah, these videos take up a lot of shelf space. It's a thing I talk about a lot, like privately. I don't really have a place to put in my content, but I think a lot in terms of the amount of space my content's allowed to take up on the internet at a given time. So, like, how do I explain this? On Twitter, I can post all I want, and my post will appear in people's feeds. But realistically speaking, if you were to open Twitter and it was just 8 posts of mine, you would stop checking Twitter. It's no longer Twitter. It's now the Theo app. So my posts are going to be intertwined with other things. There's a certain maximum number of my posts you can reasonably see in a day. And when you're browsing YouTube, there's a maximum number of my videos you can reasonably be recommended in a day. If some of those videos are unclickable because they are labeled members first and you have to pay to access it, that is a shelf space that I had, a spot that could have been recommending a video that would have made you a more dedicated viewer, that is instead being wasted on an upsell for a thing you're not going to do or buy. That sucks. The fact that my limited real estate, my limited ability to convert you as a viewer to become a member of like my core audience is being taken away to upsell something that you'll never buy is really, really bad. Seemed relatively intuitive to me, but a lot of others are just now realizing this. Missing cloud agents, it's DX almost entirely. YouTube tool. Yeah, it's YouTube ships bad features a lot, and I ignore them for as long as I possibly can. Like they now have vertical live, which I'm not touching probably ever for similar reasons. But yeah, I get your idea. Yep, agreed. Death fudge. I just think it's them trying to make this new feature happen. This could be a second channel video if I wasn't so behind on everything. This year, inference. How are you running Anthropic models? So Anthropic's only licensed to like 3 people and OpenAI is only licensed to 1. Is this a layer in front of their APIs? Like, how does this work? What are you doing? Oh, built-in token. So this is a token optimization middleman is what you're doing here. It's not really a provider. What's this? New chatter. I'm scared. Interesting. I'll take a look at this later. There's one of these every once in a while. Like we have another. Is everyone ditching Next.js now? Right there. Oh, TanStack is my go-to framework. That actually sounds fun. I'll put all of these up for my watch later. I haven't touched TanStack in a while. I was told by Tanner to wait for some things, and now it's got a lot of progress. Excited to take another look soon. We got Disco option with the 4 months of support. The new land hitting 30 months. Goddamn. And then Akka Rune here with the 13. Yeah, I should post more cat pics. I know how to eye the YouTube or the fucking Rickrolls. Don't want to deal with that because I don't want to get a copyright strike. Okay, I think that if we're going to do this one, it has to be like top priority because Prime's video just got like 500,000 plays. And if I don't do it like now, it'll just get killed in the algo. Not because his is doing well, but if his does well and then there's nothing, mine doesn't get any bump at all. And it's a weird topic. So I think we're going to start with that. Listen to Appna College. Oh, Brody did a video on it too. Cool. Is that an AI generated face? Yeah, that's a weird thumb of him. Aha. Thank you, chat. This is funny. Did she edit out the section? Be nice if she did. She blocked me earlier. Cool. There's no copyright that they can take there. Okay, that's good. Okay, what do I need for this one? Look at the pinned comment. I will definitely check. I know it's her saying not to do this. All files except the README. Lol. Okay, that's the starting point. Cool, I think we're good to go. Yo, Josh, thanks for stopping by. Good to see you, man. Hope all's well. We're about to get mad about open source stuff. Also, XHD negative hitting 30 months actually total. Appreciate that a ton. Don't worry, we're going to talk about what's going on here. How do you get in touch for sponsorship? The email's on my YouTube channel. It's YouTube at t3.gg. I know you guys aren't. I actually tried specifically to not make it about that when I did my first video on this. And I'm going to continue. I'll definitely watch her edit. Record, README, drama. Cool. I'm thinking for the intro, we just have like all of the update readme MDs and like scrolling through it slowly as I read them all. Oh. Update readme.md. Update readme.md. Action. Update readme.md. Naveen Kumar. Update readme.md. Ria. Update readme.md. Update readme.md. Update again readme.md. Update readme.md. Update readme. Update readme. Update readme. Update readme. Update readme. Update readme. I'm going to go actually insane. For those who haven't been around for a long time, I'm Theo. I make videos about software dev stuff. I care a lot about open source, which is why this, in particular, makes me really mad. It makes me so mad that I made a long video about this in the past that has quite a spicy title. Don't contribute to open source. I still think this is one of my best videos, even if that weird blonde guy with the mustache is the one who recorded it. The point I was trying to make is that people seem to think open source is this magic gateway to a job, and the result is a lot of bullshit. In particular, this one video by Apna College where they do a visual, in particular, this one video by Apna College on YouTube that makes some really dumb demonstrations of how Git works, because the goal here is to teach Git and GitHub to beginners, but they do it through the UI, and they demo pull requests through filing one on the Express.js retake on that bit. This problem comes from a video I have a lot of issues with. It's this complete Git and GitHub tutorial for beginners on the Apna College channel. I called it out very directly around 2 years ago now. Has it really been that long? When did mine come out? Open source is great. Yeah, it's almost 2 years now. I and many others tore this to shreds about 2 years ago, but the problem has maintained. As we saw here, a lot of these PRs were opened recently, and there are so many more still. I want to talk about this because the Express team deserves better, and the entire open source ecosystem deserves a little more accountability from influencers, creators, and educators who make content that results in people getting into the field. If we think stuff like this is acceptable, or if creators allow this type of thing to happen, the trust between the open source tech world and us as the creator world is going to erode really, really quickly. And I, as you probably know if you've been here a bit, care a lot about that relationship. I built this channel on top of these incredible open source projects, doing my best to share the work of these maintainers with all of you guys. This is basically the exact opposite, which is why I have such strong feelings. What I also have is a quick break for today's sponsor. Be right back. Cool. So I got a funny one. Do you know what else I have? I'll do it. Yeah. Do you know what else I have? A cheesy transition to today's sponsor. Perfect. Pick whichever one of those you like, Phase. Let's get my Excala draw going. Gonna take this thing off. I'm allowed to take this off when I'm typing, supposedly. But we'll see. Hand still hurts a lot. Can't really move my thumb much. Got a gnarly scar. I don't know if you can see it over there. Pretty proud. Anyways. Cool. Hurts, but not too bad. It's weird having my hand on my keyboard here again. I know Prime had a quote tweet about this. This video is still up. Cool. I know So I saw somebody else talking about this before. Does anybody have the original tweet that brought this back to attention? Because it wasn't this. Someone else posted about it. And then Prime posted this after. Didn't see someone replied this. Good shit. How mad are people at me? Not bad. Let me see if I can find it. I can just do it through here. Fine. Would have been around this time. I think I quote tweeted. I might have just replied to it. Yeah, that was it coming up because of the other post. Ooh, no, this is too new. It was older than that. Wasn't that? Yeah, thank you. This is one I had saved from October 4th. Cool. Perfect. Legend. And then Primogen getting tagged is probably how it got into his circle, which is why he started posting about it again. Perfect. We now have the order of events. Fuck yeah. Cut to here after the ad phase. So your first question might be, why are we talking about this right now? Wasn't this a drama from 2 years ago? It was. But it didn't get resolved. Despite all the work I and others did to make sure this was publicly known about, nothing happened. I was one of many people who tried calling out Apna to get them to make changes to their video, to edit it in post, take it down, or just do something to reduce the harm here. What exactly is that harm, though? Well, if you've used GitHub for any amount of time, you probably know the notifications are already garbage, which means you can't really use them. Instead, you hop to pull requests and look at the open tab. Your goal is to have as few open PRs as possible so that you know what work is being done at any given time. This looks like there's only 3 PRs open. That's because I'm searching for update README. That means there are 3 PRs currently open that have update README in their title. Yes, really. This is a consistent problem. The Express.js maintainers, which thankless work, by the way. Express.js needs maintenance because it's used by half of the web and a majority of apps that are using Node on the back end. It's a massive project. Even if a lot of the team has moved to other things, the team maintaining it is working incredibly hard, doing very important work, keeping this essential piece of the web alive. And they're not going to get much thanks or credit for it. They're certainly not going to get paid much for it either. And now a shitload of their time is being wasted because Apna College didn't feel like making changes to their videos or taking it down. And more importantly, and normally I try to not be too harsh on the human beings behind the thing, it seems like the Apna guys just don't actually understand software development very much. It seems like the classic story of getting a job in the space, not liking it too much, seeing the growth opportunities, and you got a couple growth opportunities when you get your first dev job. So when you're starting as a junior at a company, the obvious easy path is to get a better role, i.e. senior. You can do that by leveling up at the company or going to another company. You can also, and this is common and honestly probably needs to be more common because we definitely have an industry shortage of good managers right now, you can go down the management path instead. It's not glamorous. People don't like this, but it's a very real path that you can take, and I think more people need to take it. Good managers are harder to find than good devs right now. And if you can be a good manager for a technical team, you have a really, really high upside and the ability to like get into companies at really valuable stages and steer them in different ways. Like this is a really good path. More people should take it. Then you have the founder path, which is the realization that everything around you is fucked and you could fix it. And you decide to go make something better. If you're at a company and it's very obvious to you that they have no idea what they're doing and everything's falling apart internally, don't fight that instinct. Embrace it. Go make something better. If you think it's that screwed and that you and a few other people could make a better version of it, or you see some problem that they're just not fixing internally, go leave and do it. It's a great option if you have a good reason to take it. But these are your main paths for leveling up from your first gig. But what if you don't want to do something hard? What if you don't want to keep working to get better at coding? What if you don't want to be managing people? What if you don't want to be a founder? What if, and here's the spicy part, you want a credential chase? Credential chasing is one of my least favorite things in the world because it's a thing I just couldn't give less of a fuck about, and I've seen it rot the brains of really smart people. Credential chasing is a thing that I see happen most when people are coming fresh out of high school because they go from wanting to be top of their class to wanting to be at the best university to wanting to be top of their class at the best university to wanting to have a really good job at a really big company. But from that point forward, there aren't really as many clear big status wins. Obviously, like getting promoted to a senior role is something, but you don't have the like big oh shit moments that you had up until that point in your life, and you have to decide what you want to do there. And this is the saddest part. I think a lot of people going down the founder path right now are going down the founder path specifically because that's a high status thing. They want to be cool. They want to be successful. They want to get into YC. The fact that people are going to YC as the natural next step after Stanford because they're just trying to have cool accolades to put on their resume hurts me. Hate it so much. And there's one type of credential chasing I hate more than almost all others. Influencing. And I know this is ironic coming from me, but I've been saying this for a while. I don't make content because I want to be popular. In fact, that's almost an inconvenient part at this point. I actively go out of my way to make my content less appealing to beginners so that I get fewer views and fewer subscribers because I want the audience I have. I love you guys, the people who come and watch these videos, who nerd out about the details of technologies and frameworks, who come up to me at events to get down dirty with all the details on how this stuff works. That's why this channel exists. I'm not doing this because I want to be a popular YouTuber. I accidentally became a reasonably sized YouTuber. That was never my intention. It's still kind of crazy and strange to me. I don't think of myself as an influencer. It's weird. But a lot of others do. There's a lot of people who pick this as a path out because it seems easier than getting better at code. And honestly, in many ways it is. If you spend your college years grinding, getting good enough at code to get the job, and your plan is to do it, and then you get the relief of being done, and then you show up at work and realize you have to keep learning the same way, it sucks. If you spent your college years playing around with frameworks, learning how to code, and hating every moment of it, doing it just because you have to get a job, I have bad news. The job's a lot of that too. So if you go through all of that and realize that this is going to be your life forever, you have two options. Your options are skill up or change. You can either keep getting better and keep leveling up down the path you're on, or you can change the path you're on. And it seems like our friends at Apna chose this. Instead of continuing to better their skills as developers, they're choosing to let them atrophy. Instead of trying to climb at a company, they're trying to teach others how to get to the place they're at. There's the classic, those who can do, those who can't do, teach. And I hate that this feels more real every day. There's a reason I don't do courses. I'm too busy shipping actual shit. I'll occasionally do a tutorial, but even then, like, it doesn't feel worth it. And there are people who are really good doing it. Like for every 10 of these more grifty content tutorial grinding people, there are a couple awesome ones. Like Code with Antonio, absolute legend. His tutorials are within the best for any field, but for free on YouTube, it's crazy the level of depth he goes into. I love what he is doing because he's not selling a promise. You have two things you can sell as an educator. You can sell specific interest in topics. And I don't mean sell like charge. I mean sell like gain interest. So I can say, my tutorial will teach you how to use these technologies together versus my courses will help you get a job in tech. Hate that. Really hate that. So yeah, it seems like Apna is in the business of selling promises. In particular, they seem to be in the business of selling the promise of getting your first tech job to people in nations where that is a life-changing opportunity. If you can go from a family that makes less than 10K a year to a job where you make over 100K, it's pretty life-changing and magical, and I understand why people are chasing that. But as such, the ones who are the most willing to sell are going to be the ones that find success there. I will never make one of those I'll never make one of those get a tech job. I'm never going to make one of those crappy get a tech job in 100 days videos. I don't believe that at all. It's fucking bullshit. I hate all of that. But since people like me, like Primogen, like Antonio, the ones who have the history in the space, we're not willing to make those videos, but there is interest in those videos, someone's going to make it. And the people who make those videos are going to skew less honest because the more honest people won't do it. If you're desperate to make money and there's two videos on your feed, one is how I became a good engineer. Let me just do it. How I became a good engineer in 2 years. Fuck, now what am I trying to do? If one of these desperate people has two videos in their recommendations, or they YouTube search how to become a developer, and they have these two options. They have how do I become a good engineer? They have a story like the videos I do, how I became a good engineer in 2 years, or they have this clickbaity bullshit of how to make 100K in 100 days. When these are your options and you don't know any better as a person coming in, you're going to pick this awful option. Oh shit, huge raid. Thank you so much, Ryan, for the raid. If anybody's not following Ryan, that's a skill issue on your part. Looks like somebody already shouted him out for me. Thank you, guys. I'll take a look at this in a sec. Thank you, Ani. Yeah, Ryan was just doing an awesome stream breaking down. I'm assuming the second half was you going into all the React Conf stuff. If not, excited. I'm sure you'll cover that soon. But the first half was the Remix v3 stuff. Ryan's like the most locked in client-side JavaScript person in the whole space. I've learned so much from him. He is where I go to get information. Watch his streams. They're incredible. Yeah. Exactly what I expected. Cool. I'll reference that in a sec. Thank you guys again for showing up. Appreciate it a ton. Oh, you did that in the first half. Okay, I'll go watch the first half after stream then. Thank you so much, Ryan. Think learning alone can help you get a job? No, a lot social game. I agree. I think that's some amount like survivor bias. Like we know that, but yeah. Back to this. Okay. This is particularly frustrating to me because neither of these videos are going to get you a job in tech. Neither of these are going to help beyond maybe helping you learn a bit faster, get your head in the space better. But as was just said in chat, which I think is a really good point from NMG here, I don't understand how people think learning alone can help you get a job. Like, no, a ton is social game and the rest is specific work. And I totally agree there. It's a very common, weird mindset thing I see where people think if I have the right knowledge, if I have the right credentials, if I have AWS on my resume, I should be able to get a job. Why would I hire you if I have 3 people I already know that are as qualified as you, but I know who they are? you need to have the connections first and foremost. And this is where we start getting into the open source thing. Because there are two statements that are true, and I feel like people only see the first one. All right, let me reword this one. These two statements might seem contradictory. I'm going to explain why they're not. Statement 1 is that contributing to open source makes you easier to hire. And statement 2 is that you shouldn't use open source work to get a job. Why is this? I'm going to do some art for you guys. Beautiful. Here we have a cart and here we have a horse. Generally speaking, horses pull carts. This structure makes sense because the cart is pulled by the horse. Let's say you want your cart to move. Or, I don't want to phrase the other side of the cart and horse. Let's say you have stuff that you want to get to a location. We'll say the location is San Francisco. You want to get here. And you see other horses and carts making it there. So you think, okay, I get it now. I just need a cart. So you take this and you try your best to get it there, but the cart just isn't moving. So you see other people have a horse, and somehow cart plus horse means they successfully make it to their destination. So you get a horse as well. But it's not working. You have a horse, you have a cart, you're not going anywhere. What's going on? You're getting the order of events wrong. The problem here is not that horses aren't effective for getting to San Francisco. The problem here is that horses are a thing that happens if you're doing the right work to get there. Let's reframe this. Instead of horse and cart, let me just copy paste this. Let's reframe this a bit. Instead of horse and cart, we're going to have this be open source. And actually, instead of horse and cart, let's make this skilled dev and open source. Instead of San Francisco, tech job. If we were to break down who contributes to open source, do a quick normal graph, normal curve, thing that you can totally do easily in Excalidraw. Good enough. You get the idea. You have a normal curve of developers, and this is of all devs. Where on the left, or where on the right, they are the gods of the industry, like the Ryan Carniatos. And on the left, there are the people who failed out of their first coding bootcamp. And this is the spectrum of developers. Where do you think the open source contributors that run the tech that we all tend to use fit in this chart? So this is all devs. And on the left here, we have bad devs. And the right here, we have God devs. Where do the open source devs fall in this? First, I'm going to ask a different question. Where do you think devs who are getting their first job fall? I would say around here. This is first job devs, people who are getting their first opportunity in the industry. And your goal is to get through and level up as quick as possible, that you're a good enough dev by the time it's either time for the next job or for you to potentially get a promotion. But you as a developer want to advance from left to right throughout your career. You want to start as a bad dev that has no idea what they're doing, get good enough to get your first job, keep improving, and maybe someday you become one of those God devs, or maybe you get here and you're like, yeah, that's fine. Awesome. So where do those open source devs fit? I'd say from this point onwards is what I would categorize as like most prominent open source maintainers. Most of the smartest people I know in the industry do meaningful open source work. There's a few who don't, but honestly, the ones who don't are just really young, and I would expect at some point in their career, those devs are going to end up doing more and more open source stuff over time. So here's the problem. Let's say you're here. This is you. You're a new dev wanting to learn and get your first job. You look up to these God devs. Let's say, I don't know, Linus, creator of Linux and Git. So you're here. You see Linus all the way over here. And you see Linus's traits. Linus has a couple notable things. He likes open source. He's an asshole. And he shares his work a lot. So you see these traits from this God tier dev. So you end up copying them. You do your best to take these traits because it seems like that's what successful people do. This is called cargo culting. You do not understand how you end up here. Linus doesn't like open source because he's a God dev. He likes open source because he had to go through this whole process himself as a bad dev, becoming a good dev over time. And during his process getting there, he grew a fondness to open source because the closed source systems he was using caused him a lot of problems. He also earned his right to be an asshole because of all of the problems he encountered on his way across this chart. If he started the way he is now, he would have had a much harder time getting there. And the problem that's going on here is there's people in this space here that are like good enough to get their first job, but don't know how to go from here to eventually that side there. So what they're going to do instead is copy the traits that they're seeing all the way over here because that's what they think success must be. And this happens far too often. This happens in a lot of different spaces. Like just a simpler example in content creation. A lot of people see me successful on YouTube and they ask me for advice. The advice they ask for isn't, how do I make my first video? It's usually, what camera are you using? What software are you using? I want to make videos just like yours. But the videos I make are very different from the ones I started with. And the tech I use to make them is very different from the tech I started with. The best thing to make your first video with is the things you already have. You shouldn't buy a bunch of new stuff to inspire you to make the first video. You should do it despite not having the right equipment. And once you get good at it, you'll figure out what your equipment can and can't do and make changes based on what you know. And this is the reality. The mistake people make is they think open source will, or let me draw this first. To put it more simply, people seem to think open source will make you a good dev. That if you take a bad dev, they seem to think if you take a bad dev and make them do open source, that out comes a good dev. No, this is not how it works at all. looks more like this. Bad dev puts in hard work, becomes a good dev, and then, and only then, they start doing the open source work. This is the problem. Everyone's getting the order of events wrong. They think open source is the trick to improve your skills. And open source can absolutely be a tool to help you at a certain point in your career. But open source isn't how you get to the good dev status. Open source is a thing you end up doing once you hit a certain dev status. Another way of putting it is most great devs do open source. But doing open source does not make you a good dev. And people fall for this trick far too often. They seem to think open source is this magic gateway to getting a job. And here's where people like me need to take some accountability here. The fact that we hold up these incredible open source maintainers to such a high status, which I don't think we shouldn't do. I think it's valuable that we're doing that. The fact that we do it, though, means that people aspire for this. And then they get their order of events wrong. Oh shit, Tanner, how you doing, man? How do you not have a VIP here? And Ryan has a VIP, right? I'm almost positive I gave him one. Did not. Let me fix that too. Least I can do. Oh, he already was. Good. Just making sure. Good to see you, Tanner. We didn't get to say bye before you left, and I'm sad about that. It seems like you're having a lot of fun right now, though. Excited. Oh, shit. NMG gifting a 1-year sub to Tanner. Fucking legend. Thank you for that. If you're wondering what you missed, the Contribute to Express drama started again, where it's all the stupid fucking README PRs. This is going again, and people are talking about it again. So I'm covering my thoughts on how people get into open source and how tired I am of people selling it as a way to get a job. You've already seen me do this rant before. You've probably done a similar one yourself. Good to see you, though, Tanner. Yeah. So on one hand, the fact that we hold these people to such a high regard and status inherently is going to result in some amount of this. And when we talk about these people, these legends in the space, it's important that we talk about them in a way where we can learn from them without copying what they're doing. Copying the specific ways that they're copying their open source work is a fun thing to do to learn, but it's not a way to get noticed or get a job. That said, even I have told stories that kind of sound counter to that, where I've talked about developers who, through their open source work, got awesome gigs. If we look at the Create T3 app contributors, for example, Nexel, the developer who started it, let's look at T3 app, for example, Create T3 app, the project built around my stack. Here we have a list of contributors, many of which I know have found a ton of success through Create T3 app. I'm not going to wait for that to load. Nexel, who started it, ended up getting a reference letter for college from me, which I think hopefully helped some amount. Julius here is the reason all of our tech is running. He is quickly leveled up from a member of the community to running a lot of T3 chat and upload thing and the other stuff we do. I just helped him get an O1 to move here. In CJE here, the legend Christopher has become one of my favorite people in the web dev space. He's now working at Axiom. He shows up a lot. He has his own awesome content as well. All three of these people largely got noticed through their work creating and contributing to Create T3 app. It ended up being huge for all of their careers. Not saying it's just them. Like, everyone in this list is legendary. I love everyone from Michael, Inava, Peter, and so many others. I'm like number 11 or 12 in this list, just to emphasize how valuable the contributors were that made this happen. But this wasn't them spamming PRs on some other thing. In fact, it was quite the opposite. The reason this project started is because I told the community I wouldn't build it. I just straight up said in my videos, people were asking for me to make my own template, my own stack like solution, that I wasn't interested in doing it because I wouldn't want to plug all the pieces together just for people to not need half of them. If someone wanted to make a CLI, they could, but I'm not going to. And that's what Nexl did. He made the CLI because I said I wasn't interested. He made it open source. Other people started contributing from my community. And that's what this ended up becoming. This was never about the code. I never read the code any of these guys wrote. It wasn't about that. It wasn't about the contribution specifically. It was how well they contributed to and maintained a community around their work. This wasn't impressive because, oh, these guys have open source on their resume. This was impressive because these guys built a community around things that I had talked about and done, maintained it, and made great software as a result of it. This is not the path most people should take, though. There are other people who have taken much simpler paths that have found even more success. One of them was just in my chat, Gabriel, who's a moderator on my channel and also is collaborating with CJE at work at Axiom. Where are you? I know you just messaged. Yeah, CJE is cracked. Gabriel came up by being useful in my Twitch chat. He also would pop up on GitHub issues here and there and help with repros. He would show up in my Twitter spaces with useful resources and links. He has been the reason he's the reason a bunch of my video topics even came to be. I owe him a ton for all of our success. Yeah, that fucking Christ, Twitch. I'm just gonna mute forever. Sorry about that. Yeah. The key is to be useful. In order to get hired, you have to show that you'll provide value. There's a lot of ways to do this that vary in difficulty. The easiest by far is to be known by the people who would do the hiring that are more likely to have a position to give you and find some way to befriend them so they can trust you, so they know that you would be a good hire. You don't do that by throwing random PRs at random projects you don't even use. You want to show that you get it, first and foremost. So how do you do that? By building shit, using libraries, and running into problems. If I had two options for candidates, one of them they both have some GitHub activity. One has lots of issues they cut on other projects. Those issues have lots of references and repros. And their comms are good. Oh, one last thing. Real name plus pro pic helps a ton. I understand some people can't do that, but if you can, it's huge. Versus lots of PRs that never get merged. Lackluster descriptions. No issues cut. Never comments on anything but their own stuff. Animate PFP plus nonsense username. One of these people is a much better hire than the other. And when you give the instruction of contribute to open source, funny enough, this looks more like contributing to open source. Opening a bunch of PRs and having a bunch of activity on your GitHub seems and feels more open sourcey than cutting issues on other people's work. But as crazy as it sounds, the person here who wrote more code is the worst hire. Because the open source part isn't meant to show all the work they're doing. It's meant to be a result of the work they're doing. If you're working on real shit, you're going to run into real problems. Here's a fun example that just dropped in chat live. I saw Tanner just dropped. Him and Fred did this project in 20 minutes at VeekConf. This project is them stuffing this project's them stuffing TanStack Start into Astro. If this speaks to you, if this is really interesting and exciting to you, you've heard about Astro and TanStack Start, you've played with them both a bit, and the idea of combining them is exciting, go try it. And if you have issues, share them, document them. Do what you can to help improve it, not because you just want to improve and to get a job, but because you want to use it, so you want it to succeed. So look at the config. Interesting. Oh shit, Fami's here? Oh shit. How have I not given you a VIP, Fami? Did I miss more gifts? Oh shit, it was NMG throwing a 1 year to Fami. Fucking legend. Thank you for that. Also, NCE with the 9 months, and Mike here with the tier 1. Appreciate all you guys a ton. You've never showed up on my stream before. Damn, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Not interested in a beginner channel. It's just not what I like doing or talking about. This is the most beginner video I'll probably ever do. Yeah. Okay. Spicier way of putting this. You don't know what's valuable, you're not ready yet. If you don't know what people are looking for on GitHub, don't try to provide value yet. It's okay to just focus in on learning and improving and getting better. You don't need to be contributing when you don't know what to contribute. You need to be working so you know what to contribute. You know what's missing. You should probably read over 100 GitHub issues before you ever file a PR. And the problem with a lot of these educational sources that are focused on beginners is they're trying to get you the list of things that make good developers good, supposedly. But those are just characteristics of good devs. It'd be like me saying, if you want to be good at JavaScript, you should get a collared shirt because Theo wears a collared shirt. It just doesn't make sense. It's a result of other things that I was interested in. And this is the problem. They're trying to tell you what's valuable, but you can't be told what's valuable. Nobody can tell you what matters because it has to matter to you. If someone's trying to sell you the promise of what will make you successful, if you fill this hole, you'll be good, you're going to fail. You need to solve problems that you have that'll make you way more successful. Yo, NCE with the 10 bomb. Thank you so much for that, as well as Insanity with the 41 months. Jesus Christ. What I missed from Tanner. Apps directory is real. Fuck yeah. I need to play around with that repo more. I'm very excited for that. I could end it on this wholesome note, but I haven't complained enough yet, so let's do some complaining. This video, in and of itself, is irresponsible. I hate just going after people like this, but I was sent the website for the courses that they're selling. It really just feels like they're trying to sell the promise of being successful. Learn to become the top 1% software developer. It's literally the promise that I was showing, or it's literally what I was showing here. They're selling you the promise that you can get into this section on the right, but you can't learn to be here. You don't get here by being told what this is like. The reality is if we put most educators in here, most dev educators fit like here at best. There are very few people who dedicate their lives to education that are top of the craft, because if they are, they're too busy doing the craft, especially in tech. It is very rare you find creators and educators in the space that do better than this range. The best you'll find is people like Ryan and me that aren't really trying to teach. We're just trying to vent. And that's also why I like Ryan Carniato's streams so much, because he is almost inarguably like the furthest along person in this spectrum in the dev, so at least the web dev space, that regularly makes content. And it's so awesome that he does. It's incredibly rare. He's one of like 3 people ever that has been that smart, but also shared the way they think about things. And you should pay close attention to those people. When someone is that weird, unique blend of sharing their thoughts in an exciting, encouraging way and top of their craft, that's a good resource you should use. But somebody who quit a few months to a few years into their first job that is now selling you the promise of getting you past where they themselves are makes no sense. I will never tell you how to be more successful than me, because if I knew, I would just go be more successful. And this promise makes me feel sick. Genuinely, I hate this so much. I hate just going after another creator like this, but this is harmful and damaging. Absurdly so. So what's been the response? This started again because Neural Nets tweeted last week, why are people adding their names to the Express.js repo and calling it a pull request? This is a thing that I made my video about 2 years ago. It's good to see this coming back, and I want to give a huge shout out to Neural Nets for bringing this story back because it didn't get action last time and it's getting a little bit this time. Prime then, 2 days later, posted, the video is still up, screenshotting the video where Apna College encourages people to go file these PRs. I'm very upset. Many others were. Also got a nice shout out from somebody who went and watched my video on this because of the drama spinning back up. Yeah, this was a really good summary. Thank you, Darsh, for posting this. I appreciate you a lot. And then the response started. Anyone who watched the vid should have watched an extra 40 seconds to get what's actually happening. She clearly states the PR shouldn't actually be raised. It's simply shown to depict the process. The kids raising those right now aren't the one, or the kids who are raising the PRs are the ones at fault. I don't agree with this sentiment. The problem is that tutorials like the one that she has here, and that's what it's called, a tutorial, these are meant to be followed along with, step by step. You're meant to follow along and do the same things that Apna does throughout it. So if you tell them, don't do this thing after you do it, that's on you. You can't show them you combining the nasty chemicals as they've followed every step along the way and then say, don't do this after when they've already done it. It's already over. In fact, I would bet a lot of the kids who followed along with this tutorial probably felt a bit of shame after they hit the button just to hear the speaker say seconds later, by the way, don't do this. That must hurt. That must genuinely suck. And I feel bad for the devs who are learning, that don't know any better, who trusted this resource with 7 million subs and almost 6 million plays to be a good thing to follow along with when it isn't. That hurts a lot. And I am not one of the ones who's going to go after the devs for doing this. I will say they should probably have went and figured out how to close the PR once they heard that information, and the ones who didn't, I'm a little disappointed in. But at the very least, not mad at them. They can't know better. They don't know what's right or wrong. They don't know what's useful or useless. They don't know how this works. And if they see someone with 6 million subs doing the thing, they probably assume it's harmless and okay to do. You have to preface not doing this first. If you want to tell them not to do it, you don't tell them after when they're following along. You tell them before. The other thing you can do is edit down the video. I want to see if in mine I have the original thing she did, because it got cut, or she did cut it out. I think I have the original in here. Does anybody have a link to someone else's video that has the original uncut version? Brody's has it?
I get it.
After 2 years of complaints, she did finally edit the video down, so I don't have the specific moment in it that I want. So instead, I'm going to use Brody's video he just posted, another great video about this drama, where he has the clip that was removed. Thank you, Brody, and thank you to chat for pointing this one out for me.
10 minutes long, complete Git and GitHub tutorial for beginners. And 99% of the video, totally fine, no issue whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree with Brody. Most of the video is fine, but this section here is really bad.
Anybody has left this video up Let's just see. Now, I'm not going to actually play the video because she is speaking Hindi, and I'm sure that most of you don't understand Hindi. I don't understand it either, but we can see what she is doing. So here she goes to the Express.js repo, and she goes and demonstrates how to make a fork. This is your own local fork, and if you do this, you can make changes locally without affecting Express.js. You're not going to be sending PRs up to them, anything like that. Totally fine here. This is totally normal to do. Now, the problem is what she does from here. So she goes and makes a local change in the repo. It's called update readme. That's just the default name the GitHub uses. She puts in Appner College. A lot of other people are putting in their own name. Some are putting in Appner College and the name. Just some variation of that to include a change in the repo. No problem so far. This is totally fine. The issue is she goes and uses this to demonstrate how to make a pull request. And when you're doing that, you're making a pull request to the Express.js repo. People who do understand Hindi have said that in this part she says, hey, don't just make random pull requests to repos. If you want to make a change to a project, make sure it's a useful change and then go and do so. The problem is when you have a video that has 5.6 million views, you're going to have some percentage of those users who are utter morons who don't listen to the words you're saying. And this segment just didn't need to be made like this. There was no reason why she could.
Thought I would have a bit more of like the part from the video. That's fine though. We might just cut this section. FaZe, I trust your judgment on that. Yeah. Main issue here is that it just walks through it, supposedly says don't do it, but has already done it at that point. Yeah. The video was hour 15:21 at the time. It's now been cut down to hour 14:16. The reason it got cut down is because how do you cut a video that's already uploaded? YouTube has a feature for this. They let you, in YouTube Studio, edit down a video to remove parts. This is useful for like adding a blur to censor something, removing a part that shouldn't have been in it without having to lose all the views and the link and everything else for the video. YouTube does sometimes limit channels from editing highly viewed videos. Like for a while, YouTube wouldn't let me edit a video when it broke 100K plays. It doesn't seem to do that for me anymore. I don't know if there is still a cap for that, but a lot of channels do have limitations on when they're still allowed to edit videos once they hit a certain threshold of viewership. I honestly would believe Appner College if they said they couldn't have edited this in the past because of those restrictions. That said, they've never said this. They've never really acknowledged this drama. They had a pinned comment saying don't contribute, but no one's reading the pinned comment when they're an hour and 13 minutes into a tutorial they're following through step by step. You can't call it a tutorial and then retcon something you did in it after. You have to edit it accordingly. And the fact that this has caused so much damage is insane. Enough so that finally we got an acknowledgement from Sharda from Appner College. TLDR, tutorial's fine. We'll edit 5 seconds out in good faith. Sure. Wasn't 5 seconds. It was about a minute judging from runtimes, but sure, it was just 5 seconds. In reference to our Git tutorial, any Hindi speaker will understand that we used an example to tell learners not to do this, bad open source practice. No, that's not what she did. She showed how the feature works in a step-by-step tutorial and then said it was bad practice as she hit the button. The PR was never created in the tutorial and clearly told viewers repeatedly for the next 35 seconds, from 03 to 1439, to not create useless PRs updating the README. We assume some missed this part. Literally thousands of people, but sure. In good faith, we'll have our team edit out the 5-second segment that showed them not to do the bad practice. This might take some time. No, it was a 1-minute section. This in and of itself, not a great update, really just avoiding taking ownership. The problem here is she's not acknowledging whether or not her action was good at all, because all she cares about is her good faith that she did not mean for this to happen. I replied accordingly. You need to care less about what you did and more about the damage it's doing. This has been a problem for years, and you've refused to acknowledge it until now. There's a point at which your actions are no longer defined by your intentions. I've had to accept this for a long time. There's a lot of things I want to do and say that I choose not to because I know that there will be downstream impacts of those statements. It makes me hesitant to even do this video because I'm scared you guys are going to go flame Apna and maybe and worse, you might be negative towards other Indian devs that are working really hard that totally belong in our space. The fact that making this video is going to increase the amount of racism in tech by an amount terrifies me. It genuinely makes me feel sick. I hate that. And if I was to see a big enough uptick directly credited to my video, I would instantaneously take it down, even if I feel like I went out of my way and I did everything right. Once you see the impact of the work, you have to be realistic. And if Apna College's, and if the impact of Apna College's work is this, they need to acknowledge that. But this is the harshest reality here. I would be upset about this because I care a lot about the dev space. I want my fellow devs that work hard to find success in this space, to contribute awesome things and continue to evolve all of the industry. Apna College doesn't care. Sharda here doesn't care. If software improves or doesn't improve, her income and her success is not affected in any meaningful way. If tech stops moving, my success is affected significantly because I've bet my whole life on this. I care a lot about this. And Apna College staff doesn't, which is why when they think about this, all they think about is through the lens of their business and their students. Taking down a video with 6 million views, almost 7 million views, is going to be a significant impact to their channel. They're going to have less upsell to their courses. They're going to have less opportunity they're going to have less views on the channel, less things being recommended, less chance of finding success in building their business and selling this course that I don't know if it's good or not. All I know is I don't like the vibe of the people who are making it and the way that they sell it. They are giving up some of their business for a thing they see as totally fine and just bad students following it incorrectly. They won't take the blame because they don't see their actions as harmful because they can't even really see the harm. They don't care. The only reason they're addressing it now is because they've been called out for it publicly enough. It's the fact that this is going public and is getting enough attention that they're finally responding to it. Not because of the damage, just because of the attention. Which is why, you might have noticed, I'm blocked. This reply was enough for me to get blocked and hidden. Yes, really. Shraddha here didn't care for people to see my thoughts. That's why this has 430 views. She actually took the time to hit the hide button. It's pathetic. They have no interest at all in helping the space of tech. If their audience was to go out and destroy GitHub, they would just start making GitLab tutorials. They don't care. They can't perceive the damage because they don't write real code, and they don't care because they don't like real code either. This is all just a status grift. This is all just a status grind to sell the promise of success. And that's why I hate it so much. I normally don't like talking about these types of people and these types of things because honestly, there is basically zero overlap between these audiences and my own. Let me check things I shouldn't share, but I don't care. Community, analytics, audience. If we look at the people, or if we look at what videos, or if we look at what channels people who watch my stuff watch, it's Fireship, Prime, Low Level, OpenAI, TechLinked, funny enough. Love the LTT guys. Wes Roth, Berman. Not familiar with Network Chuck. I should definitely check that out, though. Short Circuit. RJ, I've heard good things about. I haven't looked into his stuff at all. AI Code King, fucking legend. He's killing it lately. But none of this is beginner craft tutorial stuff. All of this is experienced developer content. That's the difference. They live in a bubble, but we do too. Their bubble is here. They live in this space that is people learning who some of them, like 5% of the audience at Apna, might be good enough for their first job. We live more here, I would say. There is the occasional God dev. Like, I should make like a little triangle at the end here just to make sure we can fit Ryan Carniato in, because I know Ryan watches my stuff. But for the most part, our audience is between people who have had their first job for a bit and have been in the industry for a while, which means we don't really remember what it's like getting our first job anymore. And it's also changed a lot over time. They live in their bubble here, so they don't care what goes on the other side. They just see these traits and assume those traits are what make people successful, and then they sell the promise that they'll help you get there by listing these traits to you. The whole system fucking sucks. And I dearly, dearly dislike it. But we need to all acknowledge the fact that we're in our own bubbles. This all seems obvious to us because we all live here. And this all seems inconsequential to them because they live here. They don't see maintainers as people. They see maintainers as this weird thing that just happens in nature. They just exist. And these things that are so big, they don't perceive the harm. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. But when someone it's kind of crazy when you think about it. But when the people who teach at Apna College look at a repo with 100,000 stars, they see that as massive and untouchable and impossible to make life harder for. If you don't believe this, you should see the hidden comment section on my YouTube channel where all of the nasty comments get auto-hidden by YouTube without any intervention on my own side. There are people who will see someone or something with status as so far removed from their life that there's no way they can perceive harm. And this happens regardless of status. This is entirely in a space. If you have 10 stars on GitHub and you see a project with 100,000 stars, you don't mind talking shit because the gap is so big, you can't see it as punching down, even if you have 1 million followers on Twitter. And here's the problem. The Apna College, there's a status gap in the developer space where Express has a much higher status and Apna College is a lower one. But there's another gap in reach where Apna College has much higher reach than Express's maintainers do. And the result is this utter fucking madness that happens because no one empathizes with each other or talks to each other or thinks things through. They're too busy trying to make their ends meet to give a fuck about what's going on outside of their space. And if you ever see me do this, call me out for it. I want to know. One of my greatest fears is making mistakes like what they're doing here. The idea of making a group of maintainers' lives harder because it makes mine slightly easier is sickening, genuinely. So if you see me do this, call me out. If you see others doing this, DM me so we can figure out how we want to resolve it. Don't let bad educators ruin open source for the hardworking maintainers that put all this effort in. And maybe, just maybe, if you do really like education and you hang out here, there must be some room in the space for a good faith educator focused on earlier stage people, especially in India. So maybe go do that. That's all I got on this one. Please stop spamming these repos with open source. And if you harass anyone as a result of this video, just know I'll be disappointed as fuck. I got nothing else to say on this. Let me know what you guys think. And until next time, peace, nerds. Shit, I know Harker Rat's great. Let me thank all the subs I missed while I was doing that. Thank you, NCE. Thank you for throwing the 10 bomb as well, though. Really appreciate that. Seriously, you guys are going crazy with subs today. Insanity later, 41 fucking months. God damn. Matt Zess here. Ads be gone. 14 months. Appreciate it. Claying Hamster here with the 5 months as well. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. YouTube live chat broke while I was gone. Sorry about that. Oh shit, Fami was here and I didn't even see you because YouTube chat. Got to dust off your Twitch chat. Appreciate it. Did I miss any fundings? Nope, good. Just making sure. Yeah, the weird. I do not optimize the live stuff at all. I'll talk with the front end masters guys about like pay or like cost parity stuff. It's really hard with something like them because what they're doing isn't just tutorials you pay for access to. It's also the workshops and stuff that take like real human effort, and those humans have to be paid money. And if 70% of the people are paying 5% of the money, it's just not, it doesn't scale great. But I'll talk with them to see if they have thought about this and have any ideas. Oh shit, I am behind on this too, so Cray, don't worry. I'll hopefully finally be able to work on it more soon myself. I started a little bit during the trip, but was just swamped with React Conf stuff. I will hopefully have a little bit of progress on this myself soon too. We should sync up. Cool. 3 DGX nodes with 8 B200s. Jesus Christ. I would honestly play with the video model stuff that's happening right now. Like there's so many awesome open video models that just take a shitload of resources to run. Like the ungimped version of WAN 2.2 without the multi-step LoRa's that make it faster could be so much fun. Thank you to Lazy Pumpkin LOL for the 6 months, Peter Jarin with the 5 months, and Zleo with the Prime. GPT-5 Pro and T3 chat isn't as simple as us enabling it because it's so slow our functions time out, so we have to do some work for that. I thought I saw you, Alice, there. Good to see you, man. Hope all is well. You still got to come by and play with my new interface. It's not really an interface. It's a lot more than that, but yeah. Give me 1 second to blow my nose and turn the fan back on. Be right back. It's normally pretty hot in here, but today it's fucking miserable. It's been 79 since I started. Ugh, I'm gonna die. Yeah, I have a plan for the bun stuff. I have an angle. I want to do something weird. The middle of the last video was really good hiring advice. So I'm going to film an intro for it to be recut separately and put on the 3rd channel. Cool. Yeah, 3rd channel I like never post on anymore. This is I saw the opportunity, want to take it. Use the README drama video middle part. Cool. I just filmed a video about contribution drama on the Git. I want to put this. So I just filmed a video all about the update README drama that's involving Express and Apna College. And what I realized when I was filming it is that the middle part of that video is not really about the drama. It's actually about how to get a job for real. There's so much bad job advice all over this platform that just irks me deeply. And rather than let this useful bit of information just sit and rot in a video that's unrelated, that beginners aren't going to see, I'm going to throw it up on this channel instead, so that people like you, who wouldn't normally watch my main channel videos, might see this and might learn something from it. So if you're a new dev that's trying to figure out how to get a job, or you're an experienced dev that's trying to help their friends get jobs, hopefully this little bit of information is useful to you. Sorry that the cutting's going to be a little bit chaotic. This is just not a video that I filmed for this purpose, but I saw the opportunity and decided to take it. So give it a watch. Cool. Cool. I want to start repurposing content a bit more. It should be a free win. Oh God, what's Began doing? Oh yeah, the gambling addiction LLM thing. I actually have this bookmarked to look into more later. Extremely fast and modular markdown and MDX renderer built on incremental parsing. Wrapping up, although code agents struggle with some things when building these. Very much have my interest, so Cray. You've already DM'd me, so you're in the like prominent inbox. It's a member of the unemployed class. Oh, the Simon take on the gambling is going to be really funny. Of course I know Began. Began and I go way back. Vite Doc's absolutely good. I still need to sit and watch the whole thing. I've seen a lot of early cuts and previews. That's my profile. Close, 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 close. Close, 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 close. Cool. So I know Alistair is here, and I want to keep him waiting. The style looks like. You have my attention. I remember you sending me this. Yeah, the incremental part's very exciting, though. I am going to save this to play with more later, and we might need a lot of your help with all this. Thank you for the hard work you're putting into it. Very much a needed thing right now. I'm scared. This is a good meme. Thank you. One more spin and I'll win it all back. One more prompt, the bug will disappear. This also looks like a fun read. Cool. I am very much monitoring the sword. I haven't for a few days, but I've seen some funny shit. Cool. Internal reasoning. Oh, you have my attention. I will save that for later as well. Thank you, guys. Let's do Bun 1.3. I saw you guys had a launch video. Then you also have a blog post. You do 3 hours ago. Nice. I'm gonna wait till the more like actual Vite Plus news has dropped, and then I'll cover that. Oh, I forgot Wancho's live. I streaming on a Friday is so weird. I forget everyone I fucking care about goes live on Friday. I accidentally slightly clobbered Ryan's stream. Thankfully, he showed up. Now I'm clobbering Wan. I waited until the remix conf stuff was done because I didn't want people to have to pick between the two. Yeah, let's do the Bun 1.3 launch. Or I'll do, I was titling it Future of Bun. Cool. It's been a little bit since we talked about Bun, the alternative bundler, runtime, package installer, and all the things we need in JavaScript. And on one hand, that's because there hasn't been much to talk about, but on the other hand, it's because we haven't had a major release, and that just changed with Bun 1.3. And yes, we're going to talk about all the things that make this release fun, but I also had the time. Obviously, we're going to talk about all the things that make Bun 1.3 a great release, but more importantly, I want to talk about what this means for the future of Bun. Because not only have I spent a lot of time playing with this release and digging into the notes, not only do we have Alistair, one of the lead contributors, just hanging out in chat, I also was lucky enough to attend the Bun 1.3 launch event and actually was the only speaker alongside Jared. He hit me up right before it asking, hey, do you want to host a panel? I was like, yeah, sure. Had no idea by panel, he meant me asking him questions to a giant audience of people. But from that public chat, as well as from private conversations I've had with Jared, I'm starting to get an idea of where he thinks the future of Bun is, but also want to take advantage of my audience to lightly pressure him in the right direction. So this will be fun. On one hand, we're going to be covering all the stuff we'll cover everything that happened in 1.3, everything that they're thinking about, and where I personally think they should be steering towards. Hopefully this one doesn't get me in trouble. Either way, I got bills to pay. Hopefully this isn't getting me in trouble. At the very least, we have a sponsor. So quick word from them, and then we'll be right back. I want a funnier sponsor transition. Yeah. Quick disclosures. Bun doesn't pay me. I did invest in them, though. Someone's got to pay. Quick word from today's sponsor. Let's dive in. I honestly want to see their launch video as the starting point. So let's start with that. Let me double check the copyright. Cool. You didn't get hit with copyright, which means I won't unless you guys strike me. Don't strike me, Bun. Let's start with their video.
Bun is an incredibly fast all-in-one JavaScript toolkit for building, running, and testing JavaScript and TypeScript applications. 2 years ago, we released Bun 1.0, and since then, Bun's monthly downloads have grown over 47 times to now over 5 million monthly downloads. Every part of Bun...
Just wanted to comment on the fact that this already feels so much more human than their previous videos. They went a little hard down the Apple copy path before. This feels much better. I'm saying that now because if it changes, I want to call it that it changed.
5 million monthly downloads. Every part of Bun is designed to be and to feel fast, from the runtime to the package manager to the test runner and to the bundler. And today, we're introducing Bun 1.3. We're pushing the limits of hardware performance, and we're making building with JavaScript faster and simpler. We've taken all the feedback from teams running Bun at scale. And in Bun 1.3, we've made improvements that make Bun even more stable, more compatible, and more production ready than ever before.
That was cringe. That was cringe. I want to just give you guys edit feedback here. Send me these earlier. There's a couple little things you can touch up.
If you're migrating your production workloads to Bun, send us an email.
Bun is pushing the boundaries of what's possible with modern hardware and JavaScript. In Bun 1.3, we integrated JavaScript Core's garbage collector directly with Bun's event loop. This yields a 100 times reduction in idle CPU usage and a 40% reduction in idle memory usage for common production workloads. Lower idle CPU and memory usage means reduced hosting costs.
But Bun isn't just about performance. Bun is designed to be a drop-in replacement for Node.js. And since Bun 1.2, we've doubled down on Node.js compatibility. We've added an additional 800 new tests from the Node.js test suite that run on every single commit of Bun. And along the way, we contributed dozens.
Honestly, the most impressive thing there is that the GitHub website didn't crash as they scrolled through that many files. Like, GitHub website does not work with large projects.
Of upstream tests to Node.js to improve their test coverage and reliability. If it works in Node and it doesn't work in Bun, then please file a GitHub issue in Bun's repository. It's our job to make sure everything that works in Node also works in Bun.
And adoptability has to extend beyond the Bun time. Today in Bun 1.3,
Did he call it the Bun time? You fuckers. I have video evidence of me telling Jared the runtime needs to be called the Bun time. And he said no. And now it's in official comms. Bun time. That's what it is. That's what we're calling it. It is now canon. Thank you, Dylan, for being on the right side of history here.
3, we're introducing 2 of the most requested improvements to Bun install. First is seamless migration. Bun now automatically migrates lock files from npm, pnpm, and yarn to Bun's text-based lock file.
I like that he said text-based lock file because it was not a text-based lock file before, and it was very annoying for diffs on Git. It would just, any change to your packages would result in the whole thing being busted. They finally changed the course there, and now it's very nice. I don't know if it diffs as well as PNPM locks do, or PNPM locks naturally diff and you don't have to blast them out like ever. It's really nice, but I'm curious.
This lets you switch from other NPM package managers to bun install with zero configuration and keep your resolved dependency versions intact. Second is isolated installs. A common problem in large monorepos is transitive dependencies leaking into packages that don't declare them. These phantom dependencies cause the classic issue where code works on your machine but breaks on others. In Bun 1.3, we're making isolated installs the default, eliminating phantom dependencies and making installs even faster than before. In production-grade monorepos, Bun's isolated installs are over 70 times faster compared to NPM. Bun install is designed to work with existing Node.js projects. Switch from NPM, PNPM, or Yarn in one single command, bun install.
My only hesitation here is that Bun's monorepo support and workspace support just isn't quite as good as PNPM's just yet. If you have multiple different packages and multiple different things in a project, Bun just doesn't behave as well. We have tried. It's not quite there. We have reported a lot to Jared. He said he's on it. There is a future where it is. But honestly, personally, I think it would be a lot cooler if the focus in Bun wasn't yet another database connection method, but was a good alternative to TurboPack. Turbo Repo. Same difference. You get the idea. I want better monorepo tools for giant TypeScript projects. I would love for Bun to revolutionize monorepos instead of just installing from a monorepo. And we even have other maintainers here, like Tanner. Give me workspaces and monorepos. Yes. Please. Jared, I beg you. Better monorepo support. You guys know what giant code bases look like better than almost anyone. Please fix this. You can do it. Also, shout out Zach, who I just saw is in chat too. Assuming you're Zach over Flow with a slightly different name on Twitch. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyways.
In Bun 1.3, we've added 6 new commands to Bun install. First is Bun update interactive. This command displays all available package versions and helps you choose which dependencies to update. Bun Y tells you why a package is...
Okay. This is really cool. Other things have it, but I know a lot of people haven't used it or seen it. And it is really nice to have this in Bun directly. I know that in particular, Tanner was very hyped about this.
And helps you choose which dependencies to update. Bun Y tells you why a package is installed by tracing which dependency pulled it in.
Oh, that's actually really useful. That's really useful. Can I use Bun Y to figure out why my life is so hard, or is it only good for packages? Actually, though, very good.
Bun Audit checks dependencies for security vulnerabilities, even after they've been installed. Bun Info fetches package metadata from Node.js registries, pre-printing the manifest and additional useful information. Bun PM PKG makes it easy to get and set properties in package.json. And lastly, Bun PM version gives you a simple way to update your package version for a new release.
Okay, hear me out. Actual reason why all of this is so useful, not the interactive part, but everything else we just saw. This makes Bun a really useful tool for agents. If Bun needs, or if your agent needs to know what's going on with this package, what's the latest version, where'd it come from, who made it, or if it needs, or let's say that you need to add a field to your package.json, but you don't want to give package.json edit access to your agent. It's quite common for these vibe coding solutions to hard lock out the agents from accessing certain files in the code base. I know that, for example, with Chef by Convex, they fully locked the agent from being able to edit the schema directly so that they could have their own tool call that does that edit separately. This seems like good starting points for similar things in other tools. If I wanted to make a vibe coding building app and didn't want it to edit the package.json and break stuff all the time, I could tell it to only make changes through Bun PM. Really good stuff.
You can now import YAML files in Bun.
More questionable stuff.
This is great for configuration files, GitHub Actions, Kubernetes, and more. YAML imports are powered by Bun's built-in YAML parser, and we've also added support for YAML in hot reloading and Bun build. Bun's built-in SQL API now supports all 3 major relational databases: MySQL, SQLite, and Postgres. Our single SQL API now has automatic SQL injection prevention and drivers for all major relational databases.
It now has SQL injection prevention. Does that mean it didn't before? Does that mean I can go find some Bun 1.2 apps and have some fun? Oh boy. It's also awesome seeing Lydia here. She's a legend. Some of my favorite educational resources come from her in the space. Her video on the event loop is one of the best ever made. But also, I'm on Tanner's side with this. Why do they care so much about things like this? The speed of and the integration of different database connection methods. I'm going to come back to that, Tanner. Don't go anywhere, because I have a lot of thoughts. And a lot of those thoughts are going to use Ryan Carniato as an example, because I think he is the best example of how to think this way and do it right.
Bun now has a built-in Redis client, which means that you can connect to the world's most popular key value store with 0 dependencies.
Again, feelings. I don't necessarily think this is the best place for them to be spending their time, but we'll talk about why I think that in a little bit. But yes, you now have Redis built into Bun.
It's fast, it's native, and it's as simple as importing Redis from Bun. Just get, set, and go.
Bun 1.3 comes with a big upgrade to Bun stability and reliability. Since 1.2, we've resolved over 2,000 GitHub issues, and I've seen rapidly growing production adoption. Thousands of companies bet on Bun as their default, from small startups to Fortune 500 enterprises, and even the world's leading AI companies. But don't just take our word for it. Here's what companies building with Bun have to say.
When we started Quad Code, we looked at a bunch of options for runtime. Bun was the winner, hands down.
I did not know Boris would be in this. Oh boy. Boris, a very smart, hardworking person that has said a couple things that I think are unforgivable about Claude Code and the way that Anthropic thinks. Good dude, smart, means well. I have feelings.
It starts in like 3 milliseconds, and Python was like 15 times slower. For a CLI tool, that's the difference between an awesome user experience and something that feels sluggish.
At midterm,
Also worth noting, the other really good CLI for agentic coding stuff that's open source that we talk about here, OpenCode, also built with Bun. And sadly, my other favorite, Codex, when trying to make it as performant and easy to bundle as possible, didn't hear my warning and ended up choosing Rust. Anyways.
We use Bun's fast WebSocket server to efficiently publish millions of image generation notifications daily. Our production build time also went down from minutes to milliseconds.
At Railway, we built our AI functions experience on Bun, and it's allowed users or Claude to deploy code in less than 1 second. And once it's deployed, it is crazy cheap. When customers switch to Bun, they save 60% or more on car insurance, on compute costs. And that's all before the changes in 1.3.
Jake did very good with this. Huge fan of Railway. You'll probably be seeing more of them on the channel soon as well.
One of the best parts of Bun is its support for the Node.js ecosystem and its built-in tools. In Bun 1.3, all of the helpful APIs like S3 support, MySqueal, and the Bun shell work wherever you need them.
Did he just call it MySqueal? Did he really just do the prime reference? Tisk tisk. You can take the man out of the triangle, but you cannot take the triangle out of the man.
Including in frameworks like Next.js.
At Replit, Bun powers performance-critical infrastructure that concurrently connects hundreds of thousands of users and their agents to their containers. This enables any TypeScript developer to ship performant backend code.
Bun is fast and cute. Bun runs and builds RioOS, Baby Cursor, and all my new ideas with Cursor Agent.
I've been chatting with Rio here for a while. It's my first time actually seeing his face.
The cute dumpling paired with lightning fast DX just hits different.
We wouldn't have gone here
That was a really good cut.
without our incredibly active community across Discord, across X, YouTube, and GitHub. Thanks to hundreds of people who contributed to Bun 1.3. And for Bun, this is still just the beginning. To explore everything new, head to bun.com/1.3. To install Bun, visit Bun.
We know how to install Bun. Thank you, Jared. Very good video. So much better than the previous ones. This just feels more human, which is an important thing nowadays more than ever. I got feelings. We got a lot to talk about here. Cool. Made a quick bullet point list of the things we need to talk about from here. We have what they added, what they plan to add, what I think they should add, and the tangent on the database connection stuff, which is probably what we're going to start with. Because that is the thing I have the strongest feelings about here, although I have strong feelings about all of them. Again, bias inclusion here. I am an investor in Bun. I am a friend of Jared's. I really want to see them succeed. But that's why I'm going to be extra harsh on them, because it is more important that they succeed than almost anyone else in the space, because we need them in order for JavaScript to continue improving. So let's talk about the DB connection stuff. Why add SQL to Bun? And a lot of other pieces that are being added indirectly. If only this was a simple thing to answer. I'm going to reference a rant I did before that was talking about React. Let's say this is the problem space that you would run into if you were trying to build Gmail in 1999. You want a really good web-based email app. And this empty box here is all the problems you're going to hit because there is not good tech to do it. Then jQuery comes out and Ajax comes out. And all of a sudden, a huge portion of this problem space gets handled. We'll say everything to the left of this line is solved and everything to the right of this line is still a problem. Suddenly, with the introduction of Ajax, jQuery, whatever else, the problem space gets a lot smaller. We'll say this is when jQuery is introduced. But Ajax, a little before then, still enables a lot. Honestly, we're being fully honest, like how hard it was to do things pre-Ajax probably looks more like this. Like the amount of things that suddenly became possible when we had the ability to asynchronously update the page. The world changed real fast. So we went from, this is impossible, there's too many problems, to, okay, a lot of the problems are solved, but we still have things to deal with. Then jQuery happens, and now there's even less. And then eventually we come to React. And it's important to note that this doesn't mean there aren't new problems being introduced. This is meant to show the general problem space and how far we have come along over time. Things like building a Gmail alternative went from literally feeling impossible to do that in the browser to possible but frustrating, possible but you'll have a lot of random bugs throughout with how you're managing your state, to, oh, this isn't too bad anymore. Every time you hit one of these steps, you end up with two weird occurrences. The first is there's a surge in innovation when you hit this moment, where suddenly there's an interest in using what was enabled by this evolution to do new things. That could be creating new libraries. That could be building new apps. That could be pushing the standards. That could be a lot of different things. But one of the two things that happens when one of these monumental, suddenly this thing's easier technologies occurs, is a lot of innovation around where that is. The other thing that occurs is a loss of interest in alternatives. When jQuery was prominent, there were tons of popular alternative solutions. They weren't huge, but they were relevant. Things like Knockout, things like MooTools. There was effort to make better things than jQuery, and most of it was kind of ignored. Angular happened, which was really cool. Ember happened, which was a thing. And then React happened, which was hated at first, and then slowly people started to like it. Until React was eventually seen as the solution to a lot of the code-based scaling problems that we were running into as an industry. It made it way easier to compose and scale your architecture and your actual code across a larger team and larger amounts of code being written. But this also incentivized a lot of innovation in packages around React, in building things like React Native and all the cool stuff we've done with the web since. Separately, it disincentivized the creation of new frameworks. There are two different ways to see this, and I think it's important that we see it both ways. I'm going to delete the other parts so we can look at this just as the whole. Let's say that jQuery, or let's say that React solved 90% of the problems and left 10%, but also introduced a little bit more. Let's say it introduced another like 5% of issues. That's still 15 over 90. Things are significantly better than they were before here, obviously. But if we compare this to just building from scratch pre-Ajax, the vast majority of the problems the vast majority of developers will hit are less so problems with React. There are two ways to look at this. Way one, OMG, the problems are all solved. That's awesome. We don't have to care as much anymore, which is a good way of handling this. It's a weird analogy, but I had horrible skin for the majority of my life. And I would put tons of work in to make it not seem like I had terrible skin. If I only had like 1 or 2 zits every few weeks, I wouldn't give a shit. But since I had much worse skin than that, it constantly haunted me. And I got to the point where I was down to this last 10% with all of my crazy attempts to reduce the problems in my breakouts with my skin, the insane amount of effort I put in trying different products, being really involved in the subreddits for skincare stuff, managed to remove 90% of my acne. But that actually had a weird side effect. It made me care about what was left significantly more. By reducing the majority of my acne, suddenly this last 10%, as well as the like sensitivity of my skin, which is this additional 5, bothered me way more. Because I had put so much effort in to fighting this 90%, I was overinvested the 10%. I call this the we're so close to perfect problem. If you put the effort in to reduce the size of the problem area, you end up way more sensitive to what's left. If you put an absurd amount of effort in to make your skin healthy and you're this close, you end up just wanting to finish it out. You made it 90% of the way. Can we just make it 100? This is why I did the scary health thing that I haven't talked about much before. It's a weird place to bring it up, but whatever. I did Accutane last year. It's one of the best things I ever did for myself. Yes, when I was about to turn 30, I finally decided to take a thing I should have when I was 15 but was scared, and it's changed my life. I feel so much better as a result. Now that I have almost entirely cleared out my skin issues, I just am a happier person, way more confident, just better. One of the reasons you've probably noticed me feeling better and posting more and just generally being more positive is because I finally fixed a little bit of my skin issue that remained. So why am I talking about my skin so much? Let me change some of the words here. If we look at this problem space as performance, or if we look at this problem space as performance instead of problems, Bun has solved a significant portion of the performance issues that many people have with JavaScript. especially on the server side. That's kind of all it really does. So they've optimized the shit out of a ton of things, which you'd think would be a good time to tap out, to be like, oh, awesome, we did it. But instead, what happens often is the opposite. You end up staring at this last 10%, just desperately wanting it to be fixed. I know this has been really tough for Ryan Carniato, for example, because Solid.js flies. It's so fast. But when he sees improvements happening in React, on one hand, it's cool because he sees it getting closer and closer to solved, so to speak. But as it gets closer to the edge, it doesn't get cooler for him. It gets more frustrating for him. If React solved 80% of the problems he cared about, he'd be like, yeah, cool, that's awesome. But when React solves 95% of the problems he cares about, he's like, oh, he gets angry because he wants it to be 100. The closer you get to done, the closer you get to solving the space, the more frustrating it gets. And as the team at Bun keeps pushing this line closer and closer to the end, the things that are left get more and more frustrating. One of those things is database calls. It turns out if your database logic is in JavaScript, but your connection is in something else, which it will be, there's a lot of back and forth that ends up making those things significantly slower. Do they have a perf chart for the Bun SQL speeds? Oh, here, they have it for Redis at least. This is why they made their own Redis client. It's also why they're doing their own SQL client. There's two pieces. One is that Jared really wants to think of Bun like an alternative to Rails, where it has everything you need built in. The other side, the part that matters for this analogy, is the performance. He sees the perf gap between what he knows is possible writing in native code in Zig and what people using JavaScript are experiencing. And when you're spending all of this time polishing off every little bit of performance you can, you see this thing that you know is suboptimal. You're looking at the network traces, you're looking at stack traces, you're trying to figure out everywhere in real apps that performance can be eked out. Where are the things that are the slowest on the side you can care about? Realistically speaking, the HTTP handshake and the back and forth is going to be as big as the savings here could be, unless you're running the Redis and the Bun instance on the same box. Not many will be doing. Regardless, when you see the traces and you know this is possible, it's hard to resist the urge to do it. Jared's two goals are Rails but JS and make everything as fast as possible. The reason that there is multiple database clients now built into Bun is these two things. He wants Bun to have this all-inclusive, you just install Bun and have almost everything you need, eventually. And he wants to make everything as fast as possible. So when he stares at the surface area for why things are slow, and he sees a thing he knows could be faster, he can't help himself. He just does it. That's who Jared is as a person. And I don't think we can stop him from that. What I hope we can do is steer him towards things that are more useful to us as an ecosystem, and I and hopefully some of you guys will help with making this happen. But for now, when he has the opportunity to do a 8x speed improvement, apparently the Postgres charts here too. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Or with Postgres, 2x faster, which is pretty nuts as well. Like, you get why he's doing it. He really wants to take these things that are known to be slow and make them faster. 5 to 6 times faster than WebSockets built into Node. Double the speed when you're using Express. Twice as fast when you're using their Postgres built in. You can see why he wants to do this. It's who he is as a person. He wants the performance. Okay, tangent done. Back to the key pieces. Start with what they added. Here's the actual Bun 1.3 update. They touched on a lot of the stuff in the video, but we'll just go through it all piece by piece quick. The big thing they pushed with this release is the idea of Bun now being a full stack JS runtime. They really want Bun to have everything you need for the backend, the front end, the database, cookie management, routing, etc. So you can use just Bun and have a full stack experience, but also bring in the packages you like to use and have that work as well. It's been a lot of work to make this all fully compatible with tools like Next.js as well, and they've made a ton of progress there. Let me make sure I'm on the latest version. Almost certainly not. That's through Bun, through upgrade Bun. That'll take too long. Cool. I thought they have a better example here. Yeah. This is something I definitely want to play with more, but we just need to get over all of the things that they launched. One of those things is front-end development. The web starts with HTML, and so does building front-end applications with Bun. You can now run HTML files directly with Bun. This one's really interesting. The way that they handle like doing the Vite experience of having a bunch of packages, writing code, and just having it running in your browser with live updates is that you run the HTML file. And the HTML file will import some JS from somewhere in your project, and that local path import is enough for it to then run the bundler. Let me see if I can get this working, just vibing it out. I should bun in it. Let's bun in it. I was going to try and just vibe the whole thing, but okay, they have the React template. I'll be a decent person and just use that. As tempting as it is to try and like write it myself. Default blank. Cool. Nice. So here with their basic template, I have this index.html and it imports a script frontend.tsx. Here's frontend.tsx. This is creating a React app. And if we go to the app.tsx file here, we can see the app that we are going to build. Bun run dev. Spins up immediately, of course. Send a request to the backend and gets a response. How's it doing that, though? We have the API tester component here. Ah, here we are. The index.tsx. This lets you serve different routes. We import the index.html file to be the / route. But we also have API/hello, which has a get and a put. Hello/name, same deal. That means if I want to break that button, I could change from bun -- hot source/index.tsx to index.html. And now I have this bundled, but the route won't work because I don't have the route file set up. So I can run index.tsx, which is the TypeScript file, that will handle the different routes so that I'm using Bun's routing by importing serve from Bun, which will serve HTML from an HTML file or JavaScript, or it will serve JSON responses like this. And I can switch it from that mode to just the HTML. I can literally just point it at the HTML file and it works, which is really cool. I haven't seen anybody else do that quite this elegantly. This also comes with hot reloading, finally, huge. HMR and Fast Refresh are great. Once you have this tech, it's really hard to live without it. I actually want to see how far this goes. That demo is really compelling. Let's try to replicate it ourselves. Oops. What's the easiest way to turn on toggle autosave? Cool. That's pretty silly. That's fucked. Credit where it's due. Yeah, if you weren't watching there because you just listened to me as I'm typing, or if you weren't watching because you just listen to my videos, I highly recommend watching for this. I have my editor set to autosave. I think it's at 8 millisecond interval. Each key press makes it in and changes instantaneously. Turning off autosave because the tools I build with usually don't have that level of speed. God, that's fucking insane. Genuinely. They also now have production bundles. Huge. What about full stack, though? Here's where things are. As they said with 1.2, they introduced HTML imports, and now the HTML imports will also work with the hot reloading and built-in routing. Serves come a lot further, where you can serve with HMR on in dev. You can also echo console logs from the browser to the terminal, which can be useful in a lot of annoying debugging states, like trying to figure it out on mobile when you're on web, etc. This also helps a lot with cores because you have the backend and frontend running from the same place, which means they're on the same address, so it can hit everything fine, really convenient. One of the best cases for things like Next.js, as silly as it sounds, even if you're using it as an SPA, just having everything served from one place is super convenient. They also have parameterized and catch-all routes. They're dangerously close to becoming a router and backend framework, which is a scary space to be if I know anything from my time working with Express, working with Hano, working with Fastly. Or is it Fastify? It's Fastify, right? Yeah, Fastify. Made by a lot of the this is made by a lot of the Express guys. It's what I use for most of my random one-off web servers. There's a lot of good options. Fighting them is not going to be fun, though. But it also means you get native benefits, so I get why they're doing it. Also, compiling full-stack apps to standalone executables. This is really, really cool. I've been abusing turning JavaScript projects into single files for a long time now. This is really cool that I can take an HTML file or project. Here, let's just do this. We'll run this command. Now I've bundled the index.html. And if I /my app, no. Oh, is it because it's... No, it should have worked. If I do the TSX. Cool, yeah. I just compiled it with that. Now I have a standalone runner. Don't know why that's not working with HTML. It should have, but... It was saying check the source folder. I don't know what to check there. Whatever. I'm sure they'll fix it. Now, people are asking for the size of the runner once that's done. Wheel and Finder. 61 megs. So that's not a thing that's been optimized. Makes sense, though. Then we have Bun SQL, which is getting the huge update to include the additional options of MySQL and SQLite, as well as the tag template literals. Don't worry, I know this looks like it's vulnerable to SQL injection. It's not. Tag template literals are calling a string constructor function and checking each of these. This syntax in JavaScript where you do a variable function, whatever, and then immediately do a backtick to do a quote string. This is the equivalent of doing effectively, let me just pull up the TypeScript file. This is the equivalent of doing the following. SQL, let me just copy the string. I'm going to do an and. Name does not equal Theo, just to make this example clearer. So what happens here is whenever you have a variable, this gets split. And you end up with this array, effectively. And then at the end, you have all of the variables we put in. And what the function is designed to do here is you go through each string, and then when there's a gap, you pull a variable off the variables. So when you're doing that pull to reconstruct this into the actual SQL string, you will sanitize it at that point. But that's how tag template literals work. They aren't just embedding a string before passing it to the function. They're a different way to define a function so that you can pass the values in and construct a string safely on the other side. They also put a SQL array here to help with Postgres' arrays. I hate arrays in SQL so much. So much. More Postgres enhancements. Simple query protocol for multi-statement queries. You do that by calling .simple. This is my problem. Is so much effort's being put into this that could be other things. Like, this could be time spent fixing monorepos. SQLite got better. The Redis client's the big new one. They added their own Redis client. I've spent way too much time with Redis clients. Not saying it's not needed, just saying compatibility is going to be annoying. Then WebSocket improvements. WebSockets, on one hand, benefit from the help, but there's also UWebSocket. I love this library. This library is fucking insane. You'll notice it's a Node thing, but 90% of the code is C++ and 8% is C. UWebSocket fucking flies. This library is insane. Like, it's actually absurd how good UWebSocket is. Makes me care less about WebSockets in particular. Apparently, and I have heard this before, Bun is using a fork of UWebSocket under the hood. Makes sense. Since Zig and C play nice together, I understand why that would be the case. Makes sense. They improved the S3 stuff because, again, they built in S3 support. S3 support is a thing that does not mean people think it does. It's quite annoying, but yeah. You now create executables with the bun.build API, so you can, in Bun itself, write a custom script to create a custom output using Bun APIs. It's actually really cool to not have to do a bash script for build, just write it also in JavaScript and TypeScript. The thing I use Bun for the most is not package installs. It's me writing a random TypeScript file, like do work.ts, and I const some data equals await fetch, sure. Stuff like this, which I do all the time. Const output path equals sure. I just want to get this data from GitHub. Bun, run, do work, done. This is more convenient than Bash is for me. It has been so nice. 98% of my use of Bun is writing a random TypeScript thing like this and just Bun running on it. I would guess that half or so of the time I'm using Bun, I don't even have a package JSON. I'm literally just telling it to run a random file. So being able to do that for a Bun project is very exciting. Code signing's been added. Cool. You can ship actual executables now. Curious to see how popular those cases get, but I'm excited to see where they go. JSX config, very cool. One scary thing is that the import source differing between Preact and React means that there will be some fragmentation between the different implementations of JSX. We'll see how that all goes. Package management changes. It's easier to work with monorepos. Yay. Centralize version management across monorepo packages with dependency catalogs. Define versions once in your root package JSON and reference them in workspace packages. Based on PNPM's catalog feature. Cool. Isolate installs are now the default. Good. You can still do hoisted, which some packages will need, but that's built in. The migration thing that they mentioned before is really cool as well. Security scanner, pretty cool as well. Of course, it's the socket security guys. Those guys are awesome. You can configure a scanner in the bunfig. I still can't believe he used bunfig, but he wouldn't use buntime. Ooh, this is a really cool thing. Minimum release age. You won't install a package that's been out for a certain amount of time to trust that the community will get a package removed or send a safe update out after, so that you're not installing packages that are like compromised. You never want to be the first one to install an update, especially right now. Now you can intentionally delay them. That's really cool. Apparently PNPM has this too. Good to know. You can also do platform-specific deps by tagging -CPU and -OS and installs. Cool. Control workspace package linking behavior with link workspace packages. Good for CI. Yes. We have the new commands we talked about earlier. Testing and debugging improvements. This is huge. We worked closely with WebKit to add support for richer async stack traces in JSC. Previously, errors in async functions failed to preserve the async call trace. This will now preserve all of the calls here because foo calls bar, bar calls baz, baz awaits and then throws. Now you get the whole stack trace. And this was apparently a WebKit problem that they've merged up. From my chat with Jared, he was very surprised at how much WebKit and JSC has been willing to accept random PRs from the Bun team. They've supposedly been really nice to work with, which is an awesome thing to hear. I'm still melting, so give me a sec. $82 in here. God damn. Oh shit, one of the Bun maintainers is here too. They made their min release age cooler by having a stability check to not install a version that has a fix in a backout space. Interesting. Does this mean that if you're installing new package, or does this mean if a package is getting updated every 3 days and you have this set to 3 days, that you'll never get an update though? So that's concerning if so. Only issue I could see with this. The max age of 7.4 gives up stability check. Okay, good to know. Anyways, VS Code Test Explorer integration. This might sound small, but a fun fact about me. I made the move away from Sublime Text to VS Code because at Twitch, we had integrated so much of the test platform to the VS Code Explorer for tests that it made debugging and running tests comically easier than any other way to do it. So I made the move to VS Code just to have a better experience running the tests at Twitch, and obviously have been there for a while. As you can see, I'm running, cursor. Same difference, you get the idea. Concurrent testing is very, very fun as well. Bun test seems really good. I think people underrate how valuable this is. Let's do a quick quiz for y'all. You all know Vite. I'm sure most of you know Vitest. I'm going to go check a number quick. And if you know the answer to the question I'm about to ask, don't answer. Vite gets 36.5 million installs per week for NPM numbers. So Vite does 36.5 million installs a week. How many installs a week do you think Vitest gets? The test library that's been around for significantly less time. Vite happened in 2021. And Vitest happened in, I believe, 2023, and it would have been late 23. It might have even been last year. But Vitest is still much newer. Vite works fine with other testing solutions. The numbers from chat so far, 6.9, come on. That's not even a joke anymore. 10 mil, 4 mil, at least 20, less than 3, 8. Seems like the majority of these options are under 10 mil. This blew me away when I saw it earlier. 16.5 mil weekly downloads. The funniest part here is the stars gap. This difference here says a lot. Vite does 36 mil weekly downloads. Vitest does 16.5 mil weekly downloads. It's a 2x difference there when it's like a 5x difference for stars for these same packages. The reason for this is because you and I, just working on side projects, are not affecting these numbers a whole lot. If you just npm install random things in your side projects, cool. But if you're shipping real software and you're running CI on every new commit, you're going to be hitting these things a lot more. The reason that these numbers are so close, the install numbers, and the stars are so separate, so it's a big gap there, is because stars measure hype, installs measure enterprise usage and CI. Vitest is essential to any real business using Vite at this point, which is why half of all Vite installs include Vitest. Makes sense when you think about it this way. I don't like requiring code cov, but I do like having easy to run tests, and Vitest is super useful. We actually use Vitest for our tests for T3 chat, even though we're not using Vite. So take it as you will. Vitest is a really good solution. Shout out to Antfu for all the hard work he put into it. Even if it won't get the stars it deserves on GitHub, it will get the installs it deserves. We'll talk more about Vite Plus in a minute, because there's a reason I pulled that up. Other than that, really just wanted to highlight how important testing is for real companies adopting these tools. Then there's test.serial to make specific tests sequential. So if you have certain tests you want to have run in order, there's a way to do that. Cool. You can also run them in a random order. Fun. And even with seeds. Well, this is too much testing stuff. I can't pretend to care that much. New matchers. Dope. What about APIs and standards? YAML support. Awesome. Cookies. Interesting. You import cookie map. What do we do with that? not appear to be used in the sample. Cool. I'm not crazy. The example is not clear. Thank you, Alistair. Request.cookies is a cookie map. You don't need the import. Apparently, Axiom has been on Vitest for 2 years, and it's been on Vite for 1 week. Really good example there. You now consume readable streams with convenience methods. WebSockets are better. WASM streaming is very interesting. See standard compression, cool. Security improvements. More node compat, improvements to workers. I think that is most of it. Oh, more DX stuff, cool. Better TypeScript defaults, finally. You can control how deep console logs go. That's huge. I want that always to be at least 5, probably further than that. Type/bun will now auto-detect whether to use node or DOM types based on the project. Chaos, but fun. Bun options, environment variables, useful. Preload scripts and SQL optimization. Strip ANSI util. Just again, this is like the addiction to fast. Like you don't need strip ANSI to be built in. Is it way faster? Sure, but was it actually slow before? Meh. This is actually useful though. Passing between workers being way faster is huge. And I know that this is a thing Jared thinks a lot about. Like, how do you make JavaScript properly concurrent and like parallel? You do it with workers, but you don't have a good way to share memory. I know he cares a lot and is trying to find good solutions there. Lots of other things got faster. And this is just the main change log. Cool. So there we are. Those are the changes. Good stuff. But now we have the last main piece. The future of Bun. The thing that is the title, the reason y'all are here. Where's Bun going? There are things that they have planned, and there are things I would like to steer them towards. The goal is, as I've said before, all-in-one JS ecosystem. So Rails, but for JS. There's a lot of pieces in here that are helping get there. The full stack runtime and effectively framework built in is a really big step in that direction. I don't think deploy was mentioned. Yeah, deploy was not mentioned in here. I know that was a thing that Jared was talking a lot about when we chatted. So that's one of the future pieces. I thought it would be now, but it's actually the future. Bun deploy. Your first thought's probably, oh, so they're going to build their own servers? That's what I thought. Is it like, oh, they're going to put that out? This is not a leak. Jared himself even said he wants more people to talk about it. This was at the talk. This was a thing that he has confirmed before. What is G doing? Oh. We'll save that for later. If this is actually a leak, I'm happy to stop. I'm sure one of you guys is near enough to Jared to ask him if I'm allowed to say this or not. But I am talking about it. Okay. Apparently, I am the one revealing this information, even though I was almost certain it was public and it has been talked about in public settings before. Bun deploy. This is not what you might be thinking, and I see chat making suggestions here. This is not for releasing packages to NPM or JSR. This is not Bun introducing their own infrastructure. This is very specifically making it easier to bundle and deploy a Bun project in other places, like on Vercel, like on Netlify, like on Cloudflare, like on Heroku, like on Railway. Bun deploy is closer to an alternative to the Vercel build output API. You didn't know this, Vercel has a pretty solid open standard for how frameworks should structure their outputs once you run the build step that will get attached to the official, what do you take on that? If you're not familiar with the build output API, it's a thing Vercel made to make it easier for other frameworks to structure their outputs when you run the build or compile command so that Vercel can just take a bunch of JavaScript files and do the right thing with them. It's a standard format for your compiled full stack framework code, not for the framework itself, but for the code somebody builds with it that will allow for Vercel to just take the code and run the thing the way that makes sense. But that's very Vercel-y. Theoretically, it's an open standard. People could implement it on either side, but it is quite Vercelian. And one of the cool things that Bun is working on that is not a leak because it's all in your open source shit anyways, guys, is Bun deploy. This is not them introducing their own infra. It's them introducing a standard for the shape of the outputs and making it easier to consume as a platform like Vercel or like Railway or like Netlify. Notice I didn't say Cloudflare because Cloudflare works on top of V8 and Bun is an alternative to V8. As Guillermo just tweeted, this is already working on Vercel, which is really, really fun to see. Of course, Tom Leonard is tagged in here, the Fluid Compute King. Bun deploy is a very interesting thing because Bun deploy is pulling Bun closer to your actual production environments. I'm going to run a quick poll in chat. Do you use Bun? Yes. Or I'll do no. Yes, just for scripts. Or yes, just for installs. As in like package management. Yeah, so you have yes just for installs, yes for scripts too, or yes, bundle full apps. So there's like the 3 tiers of how much you use Bun. You just use Bun install. You also Bun run scripts. And occasionally, or then the 3rd tier is you actually ship a full app in a production environment. I'll say yes, run Bun in prod. Like, do you put Bun on a server is what that masked one is meant to be. This is interesting. I expected a much higher for just installs here. My audience is biased. Still, though, crazy split here. I use Bun install because it's stupid fast and uses symlinks instead of copying the packages, so it ends up being much faster and convenient if you have a shitload of projects on your computer. Yeah, I think a lot of people who were just using it for installs actually run some scripts with it now too, so I get it, but still a crazy split. More people in prod already than I expected. The reason I asked is because... Where were we? The reason I ask is because Bun deploy helps lower the barrier for actually using Bun in prod. Right now, my main clouds are Vercel and Cloudflare. Up until a few days ago, neither really supported Bun. Now, Vercel kind of does, but Cloudflare doesn't and probably won't. That doesn't mean I can't use Bun to bundle my apps that I then ship to Cloudflare. It just means Bun can't be the runtime for those apps. Bun deploy helps lower the barrier for adding Bun as a dependency in our server-side code, actually using Bun, the runtime in production work environments, makes that significantly easier. Which is a very exciting thing because it means Bun can now be backing things that make money. If we go back to all of the companies that mentioned their use of Bun in that video, we have Anthropic for Claude Code. We had Cursor for package installs. We had Replit. And we had Railway. So Anthropic is using it as the runtime for Claude Code when you install it. Cursor uses it to manage their packages. Replit, not relevant. No one actually uses Replit. And we have Railway, which is, as I mentioned, it's Railway.app, right? Oh, you have the .com now. I forgot about that. Yeah. And we have Railway, which, as I mentioned, is like modern Heroku, make it way easier to deploy real code in the cloud. Like these guys a lot. Railway's been friends forever now. And they use Bun to run JavaScript functions. So you can vibe code there or even ship the default JavaScript environment on Railway is Bun. So of these, Anthropic is not running this on a real server for a real workload. They are using it as a way to run their CLI faster on your computer. It's not actually making or saving the money. It's just the way they chose to do it. Cursor has reduced their CI bill a bit, but that's about it for Bun. Replit is Replit. They don't make money. They don't have real users. But Railway here, these guys are interesting. Let's think about how much value Bun is providing. Here, I want to word this. Let's think about how much money is being backed effectively by Bun in these different scenarios. If Anthropic was to move from Bun to Node, their package would get a bit smaller unless they bundle all of Node with it, which they wouldn't. Oh shit, Abby raid. Oh shit. Thank you so much, Abby. Good to see you. Excited for launch on the 16th, 6 days from now. I'm scared. I'm really scared of that launch. Yeah, I hope it's good, but I'm scared. For those who don't know, Abby is a legendary Pokemon hacker. Love her to absolute death. One of the most locked in people in the Pokemon community. Old friend as well. And for those who just came from the raid, I'm Theo. I film videos about software development live on Twitch, just talking about whatever the hell's going on in the software dev world and doing my best to turn that into YouTube videos. We're going to get real nerdy here. We're currently talking about Bun, which is an alternative JavaScript runtime similar to Node.js, and a lot of other things as well. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate each and every one of you. You came along with someone really awesome. And NMG just gifted a 1 year to Abby, so we don't have to worry about her ever seeing ads when she's here. Good shit. Love all you guys. Thank you all again for showing up. Back to this. Yeah. So Anthropic could move to Node. People would barely even notice. It would feel a little slower, but whatever. Cursor could move to NPM or PNPM for their package installs. Their CI will be a bit slower. Whatever. Replit could move and nothing changes because when you have 0 users, 0 times any change is still 0. Railway's interesting. Railway was the only one, or in the video earlier, Railway was the only company that had an actual number to share for how much money that customers are saving as a result of them using Bun. They said 60% reduction in server costs because it's running so much faster that the code doesn't have to run for as long. This means that for Railway, Bun is immediately providing real financial value. Railway is saving money for themselves and for their customers by using Bun. That means of these 4, Railway is the only company with a real financial dependency on Bun. To be clear, of these examples, there are others that probably do. But let's take this down a hypothetical. Let's say you've been using Bun so heavily and you're building such complex things that you're starting to run into problems with the stack tracing because you're trying to debug things. They called out in here They called out in here that they made changes to JSC to fix the stack tracing for async workloads so that they could get better output errors. That's huge. That helps all of these companies. But we're not here to talk about helping all of the companies. We're here to talk about how the fuck do they ever make money? If these top 3 companies were to have problems that were complex enough that they considered not using Bun because they're hitting some weird edge case, for all of them, it would make sense to move. What will end up happening is they move, they trade one set of errors for another, realize everything sucks, go subscribe to Sentry, and then maybe come back to Bun, maybe don't. With Railway, they make it work because Railway would have to charge 2x more for their JavaScript customers if they have to move off of Bun. So if all of these top 3 move to Node and then pay Sentry to get better traces in their backend so they can see what goes wrong, Railway's the one that can't do that. And I would bet my ass that if Bun was charging for some fancy error management service on the backend to take their deeper traces and get that information into a dashboard that's useful to you, Railway would not only pay for it, they'd probably upsell it to customers on Bun's behalf. Sentry's a great company. Sentry makes a lot of money. Sentry regularly has to hire and consult with people who work on Node directly because they have to deeply integrate with Node because they have to give you errors for every layer that a thing can go wrong. If Bun made half as much money as Sentry does, Bun would be in a very, very good place. Right now, Bun makes zero money. They don't charge for right now, Bun makes zero money. They don't charge for anything. And if Bun gets into your deployments more, there's a huge opportunity for them to find places to charge. And that's not just charging you for hosting. That could be charging you for errors and traces on the server side. That could be charging you for private support because you need things changed for your particular workloads. That could be selling isolates or custom runtimes that you can use alongside your deployment for specific things and needs. There's a lot of paths that you can charge for once you get your runtime onto servers, which is why their number one goal is and should be, how do we get developers to adopt Bun, not just for running their code base, not just for installing things on their machine, but for running real workloads in production, because that's where there is real money to be made. That's why Bun Deploy is a thing that they're working on. But I want to go a bit further. Here's where we get into the things that Jared might be mad at me for. Let's start bullying Jared a bit. Okay. Key point 1 before we go any further. Rails does not make money. Building Rails does not mean you make money. Building Rails means you have to go build things with Rails to make money. That's what DHH did. It's the hard truth. You do not win by default by being Rails for JS. I could go further on why you don't want to be Rails for JS, but I'm not going to because it doesn't really matter here. Point 2. How do I want to word this point? AI's ruined the performance wars. When my average request on my service was, I don't know, let's say it was 400 milliseconds. It wasn't. It's probably a lot closer to like 150, 200. But let's just say, for sake of argument, that my requests took 400 milliseconds. We'll say 100 ms of it is like database round trip stuff. 50 ms is in it, whatever. You split it however the fuck you want. Doesn't matter. Let's say that 150 ms of this is specifically like node code running. And Bun can reduce that 150 ms down to, I don't know, let's say 25 ms. Now you're cutting this 400 millisecond request down significantly. You've knocked this down all the way. You've knocked this down to 275 milliseconds. That is a bit over half as much time for it to run. These are numbers I just made up on the spot, but I've seen results like this, if not better, by using Bun on specific workloads. When your average request was between 200 and 400 milliseconds, shaving off 100 milliseconds felt really good. Cutting a fourth to a half of the amount of time it took to respond to a request was great. It makes your costs cheaper, makes your users happier, it makes everything better. The world has changed. The requests that matter on my web service are not the ones that take 100 milliseconds or less to respond. Certainly not even the ones that take half a second or less to respond. The ones that matter take a lot longer now. They might take 200 ms to like init to get all the context about who the user is and whatnot. But the requests that matter on my service can take like 12 seconds now. Because we're running LLMs. LLMs don't respond in 400 milliseconds. They might send the first token in 100 milliseconds. But if you're cutting off time that exists in this range, like the init times, those barely matter anymore because they went from half your request to half your handshake. Now 100 millisecond difference doesn't fucking, I wouldn't feel it. If you cut 100 milliseconds off of the most important endpoint on T3 chat, which is /API/chat, if I could pay $10,000 to shave 100 milliseconds off every request on upload thing, I would do it without thinking twice. If I could pay $100 to shave 100 milliseconds off my requests for /API/chat, I'd think twice about it. So 100 milliseconds on top of 30 to 100 seconds sometimes barely fucking matters. And Bun's far from the only place getting hit with this reality. This has hurt Vercel more than almost anyone. Vercel put so much time into reducing time to respond Vercel's put like their entire business in reducing how much time it takes for a request to be responded. And now AI is all of the important requests, and it can take minutes to respond. This has just fully upended what we're optimizing for as full stack web developers. So on one hand, AI has destroyed the perf wars. We don't care about reducing our server-side costs by 20 to 50% and reducing our request time by 100 milliseconds. To be frank, our Vercel bill's probably $1 to $2 grand. I haven't checked it in a bit. Our bill with Claude and Anthropic alone is like 40. All of our inference together is absurdly expensive. Our compute bill is 1/100th of our compute bill for like running our servers is 1/100th at most of our bill for actual inference. So these perf wins don't really feel like they matter as much anymore. But there are things that do matter here. This is where spicy point 3 comes in. The AI land grab should be Jared's only focus right now. A lot of things are changing because of AI. We suddenly have more people building more projects with more packages, so the need for good monorepo tools that are deterministic, reliable, well-documented, and AI-friendly is massive. If you can make the monorepo tooling set that makes it easy for me to have 5 packages in a vibe-coded shit show, that's a huge win. That is a massive, impossible to measure win. If you can become the default monorepo solution for these huge projects that are growing bigger every day, you just did what I was talking about before with like being the thing where the money happens massively. Everyone above this railway line could move off of Bun without much effort. But if you're using Bun as your monorepo tool, you effectively can't work on the project anymore without Bun. The thought of changing our monorepo tooling out right now makes me feel sick. So if you can make something better enough that we have to, we will never leave. But there's another thing here that is important. AI means devs are making less decisions about their tech stack. They go with what the AI picks, or they go with what they're already familiar with because they're less interested in changing. They're just going to let the AI take care of the work for them. But the code has to run somewhere. Bun should be the default runtime for AI code. We've established in many of my videos now that AI is much more effective if you let it write code to solve the problems that it needs to solve. I'm not just saying it writes code in your code base for your project. This can also be you're on ChatGPT and you ask it for information about the stock market. It can write code to parse that information and get better numbers. If you give an AI like 15 numbers and ask it to add them, it can try its best to hallucinate a solution, or it can write code, put the numbers in the code, and then give you the real answer. AI gets much smarter when you let it write code to solve problems, even with things like MCP. Check out my MCP was a mistake video if you want to better understand what I'm talking about here. There is a war going on as we speak for where our JavaScript code that AI is writing should be run. A lot of people are using Python for this. This is a fun set of complex problems because you have to sandbox this code safely. You have to run it quickly at low cost, handle all of the crazy errors and hallucinations the AI is going to have when it writes all of this random code. This is a massive opportunity for Bun. If Bun can be the default sandbox and default runtime for JavaScript code written by AI, so that if I'm using ChatGPT or T3 Chat or any of these other tools, and it writes JavaScript code, it needs to put it somewhere. It shouldn't be putting it in a random provider that just showed up to do this. It shouldn't be putting it on the Cloudflare worker sandbox thing. It should be putting it in Bun, because Bun is the best runtime. It is the most flexible, and it has the most opportunity to catch up right now. Do not let Node win. And certainly do not let Python win. None of these tools were built with the level of abstraction to do this. Bun kind of was, but it's also the most flexible. You can change this, Jared. You can make Bun the default solution for AI-generated code. We are quickly approaching a world where the majority of code being run isn't written by humans. We're already at the point where the majority of code written wasn't written by humans, but most of that code gets thrown away and disappears. If I send a message on ChatGPT, or if I send a message on T3 Chat, it goes through all of our steps, all of our servers, all of our code, and hits some percentage of the 30 to 50,000 lines of code we have there. But every single request someone does might generate some code that runs somewhere. If your request hits 10,000 lines of my code and generates 100 lines of new code, it only takes 100 requests before more AI-generated code is run than code that my team wrote has run. It is a very, very slippery slope that we're already on, where the future is the majority of executed code being written by LLMs. You should be where that code runs. If you want the majority of code to run through Bun, it should not be running on my machine, and it should not be deploying on Railway. It should be a service that I plug into my backend code, that I hand a string that is the code that the AI generated, and then it safely runs it really quickly and spits back a result. If you become the runtime for AI code, and at the same time become the workspace for large projects that are half vibe coded, half real work, you've just won both sides of this land grab, and you win by default as a result. So please, Jared, I beg you, give us the ultimate runtime for our AI vibe coded slop, and give us a decent way to manage mono repos. I don't fucking care about your database connections anymore. I'm sorry. It's a good, noble effort you've put in there. It's time to win. This is how you win. That's all I got on this one. Hope that was a fun ending. This is quite a dive in, and I'm very happy with what Bun is doing, and I hope I can be even happier in the near future. Let me know what you guys think. And until next time, peace, nerds. Fun. Sadly, I do have to run. I might try to stream again tomorrow, but in my calendar. Might do a short stream early tomorrow, otherwise Sunday. There's just too much going on and we're too behind on videos. Appreciate all you guys for hanging here with me. Thanks, Alistair, for showing up too. And we thank all the subs I missed when we were doing that quick. Think I got you, Lucas. Where's the line of who I did and didn't get? Okay, I think I didn't get Lazy Pumpkin. So thank you, Lazy Pumpkin. Thank you, Peter, for the 5 months. Slayo with the Prime. Alistair, Nerd. Lucas with the 3 months of Tier 1. Mitch with the 16 months. Pixels with the 16 months. Shines Love with the 19 months. CJE with the 40. Jesus Christ, you've been here too long. And NMG with the gift to Abby. Thank you again for that. Linus is live, right? Is there anybody else I need to raid? But if not, we're going to Linus. I do love Action Button. I do love Sushi. And I do love Ricky. But I don't get the opportunity to raid these nerds very often because they're very rarely live when I'm live. The Creact thing. Cloud Reactivity Framework. Interesting. There's like a cursed version of React Nil that goes way too far. This is for running server code using effects and the component hierarchy for doing backend logic. This is not new ground, but it is fun. I will look into that. Let's give Linus the raid, and I'll maybe see you guys tomorrow. Thank you all as always. Goodbye, nerds. And goodbye to YouTube as well.